Yo, what is going on, everybody? It is your boy Luke Vaughn, the host of the Keepin podcast, and we have a very special guest driving across America just to come on the podcast, basically, for the second time. Our boy Jake Burlaga. What is going on? Thank you very much for coming on, buddy. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. I appreciate
It's only been
you.
like 6 months.
I think I
just
was
checked.
on this.
Maybe 7 months.
October. When is October? So what is it? May? Maybe 7 or 8. I don't
About
know.
7, 8 months,
off.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I came up here definitely, for my brother's wedding, but I'm definitely. I don't know if you knew that yet.
When's he getting married?
Ben is getting married this Saturday.
Wow, that's going to be fun.
So I'm really
Fun day.
excited to be a part of that. I'm the best man. So,
Are you?
Yeah. So I'm working on my speech. So just trying to make sure that's all good.
Dude, that's exciting stuff.
Yeah. So drove up Monday. Told you the tire blew out.
Yeah.
I literally left at 3 a.m. I left Atlanta at 3 in the morning, and I drove all the way up here. I didn't get here till 11 o'clock at night because I got a hold up with the tire. I was on the side of the road. And
What time did the tire blow?
Probably around 8 a.m. And I was in the middle of South Carolina.
That's not bad, though.
It's not bad because,
Everybody's getting to work.
And I got to get my tire fixed, and the tire places are going to be open till 5 or 6.
Yep.
So I wasn't screwed. I would have been screwed if it was the middle of the night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, just basically drove up here. Tire blew out. I was in this podunk, South Carolina town, and they sold me some really cheap tires. $150 for 2 tires, and they're like good tires. So I was like, all right, I'll take it. I mean, it seems marketable.
Yeah, that seems fine.
Good.
That seems fine.
So
inflation going up, I feel like that's a reasonable price.
Exactly. So I was happy with it. But the thing is this, I just took a trip. My wife and I drove up to northern Indiana 2 weeks ago. So we were up by South Bend, near Chicago. And I just had a gut feeling, if I'm doing 2 like big treks like this in a month.
Drove up there?
Yeah, from Atlanta.
That's far.
Yes. It's probably about the same distance from here, but you're just going straight up north to the Midwest. Yeah. So I was just telling Aaron, I had this inkling something was going to happen. I mean, just because there's a lot of wear and tear on my car already, and you're doing 2 really big trips like this. So, and it kind of worked out that way. So unfortunately, but I drove up here Monday and got here 11 o'clock, and it was a long day. And I felt so bad for my wife too, because she's carrying the baby and she's due in the end of August.
Congratulations on that, man. That's dope.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think it's
stuff, bro.
I'm ready for it. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think most people say they're not ready for it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm 23. Well, so it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But we're really excited for it. It's going to be a huge blessing.
Awesome,
so,
man.
but
awesome.
Now we got here. Just been taking it easy since I got here.
Yeah.
And we got the festivities starting tomorrow. So
So he's getting married Saturday, you said?
he's getting married Saturday,
And
but there's
today?
like
What is today? Wednesday? I've been
is
working
Wednesday.
honestly every single day for the last 2 months. This is my first week having Wednesday off. I work 6 days.
wow, that's
So
crazy.
this guy quit, so I was just like, hey, I'm up for the money. So I was just working.
I mean, it's worth it.
Yeah. It was worth it. It was worth it for sure.
But so we got a bunch of festivities going on this week.
Awesome,
We got
man. That
a
is so-
bachelor party planned. It's gonna be fun.
That is awesome.
gonna be
Bachelor
great.
party. That's lit. Where are they going honeymooning?
They're going to Greece. Wow. They're going to Athens.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That
so
is
it's
awesome.
Like,
That is
they're going
awesome.
there for 2 weeks.
I thought you were going to say maybe Florida or Hawaii or something. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, my wife and I, we wanted to go to Florence for a honeymoon, but we didn't.
Where's that, Italy?
It's
Florence?
Italy, yeah.
Florence,
It's like the
Italy.
Renaissance city.
Yeah.
So we really wanted to go there, but it was in the middle of COVID times.
Yeah.
So it was like, this ain't going to work.
Yeah.
But it's a
I
lot
think
of
they're
money,
starting to
too.
get open a little bit more.
I know. I hope. I feel like they are getting a lot looser.
Yeah, I think
But
so.
we'll see, though, because this fall, I think we'll find out with elections and stuff.
If I guess the cases rise again, whatever they try to put.
I know where I'm at,
Whatever
though.
they
It
try to
feels like COVID is a non-existent thing. Like I really feel
so
like that.
If I'm looking at Atlanta, are you south of Atlanta, east of Atlanta, north of Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
west of Atlanta?
All right, I'm south of Atlanta, probably about 30 minutes.
Okay.
From downtown. And I love Georgia, honestly. It's like, I think it's the best state.
Yeah.
Like in the southeast, you get warm climate. It's so much more beautiful. It's even so much more green, too. It's just the way of life is so much better. I really think that.
I appreciate that.
And I know because I'm from here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I really could retire there the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Like I love it.
Cheaper
that
way
much.
of life, right?
It's cheaper, but
bit
it's
slower.
getting a little expensive.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So
everything's going
like
up.
I would really love to buy a house. Like that's been a goal of mine for a minute. But it's just like impossible to compete.
Homes are expensive.
Especially-
and then the overhead too. Like once you get in that home, you got
Yeah.
the property tax, you got utilities, you got everything.
Exactly. And in the
Anything
Atlanta
goes
metro
wrong.
area, it's just like a big, I don't even know how you say it. It's like a melting pot. So many people are trying to live there. So most people who, I don't think it's most people, but in Atlanta, a lot of the people who live there are actually from different places and they just migrate there. And that's
see.
kind of what
Yeah.
a migrant there.
Yeah.
But it's like almost impossible to compete because it's like, it's literally like Hollywood of the Southeast.
Yeah, I heard a lot of really good things about Atlanta.
So, and I love it. They have a massive movie industry too.
Yeah,
this is huge. So I know a guy at my church who he works in CGI for one of these studios. Awesome. Yeah, so it's cool. But
wow, CGI, that's awesome.
Yeah, so South Atlanta, love it. Could live there the rest of my life.
Really?
It's beautiful.
That's awesome.
So it does get cold there though too.
Does it?
It really does.
And how far away from the beach? Not
probably 4.5 hours.
4.5. Okay, so that's pretty far.
So we want to go to Savannah probably in the next week or two for a baby moon.
Oh, Savannah's right there, right?
It's like 4 or 5 hours away.
Kind of Jacksonville, right?
It's like an hour and a half up. Hour and a half up. Yeah. But you gotta drive down from where I'm at. But that's what we're gonna do. So most people though don't really travel to the Atlantic side of the ocean who live in Georgia. They all go to the Gulf.
They would go to like Panama City.
Yeah, Panama City or Pensacola.
Okay.
Palm Beach or whatever. I don't know that cities, but
I see.
But yeah.
And you guys are pretty central. Like if you go straight up, you're right almost by Knoxville, right?
Knoxville's like 4 hours away. 2 hours from Chattanooga. Chattanooga's an amazing mountain.
I was about to say you could go to Smoky Mountains. Have you ever gone to
Yeah, so we honeymooned. We honeymooned in Chattanooga. So we went hiking. We actually had a really crazy experience.
Some bears and stuff.
Well, we were out in the middle of nowhere, but there's something called. Are you familiar with Crime Junkie, the podcast?
Crime Junkie, the podcast. No.
Okay, it's like one of the biggest podcasts in America.
All right.
But they did an episode on a little town called Signal Mountain.
Signal Mountain, and
it's like this little neighboring town to Chattanooga, and that's where we honeymooned.
Scared right now.
Yeah, I know. And basically, what happened was in the '90s there was like 3 murders in this town. And this town's got like 800 people.
Yeah.
Basically. And we honeymooned there. And the whole time, my wife and I had like an eerie feeling the entire time. And it was probably in our head. We didn't really talk much on the honeymoon, actually. We were just our communication was not flowing very well. Wow. And we felt like the Airbnb host was kind of weird too. He lived like 2 acres next door. Mm-hmm. And there was one time where we got in doing something that day. And he was just like in the driveway wanting to talk to me. Like really weird stuff.
Yeah.
So after we left there, like we're not going back up there. So, and honestly, your head just goes places when you're out in the middle of nowhere. In the mountains too, there's no signal at all.
Yeah,
and
you got to be ready for that. You
exactly.
Be ready for that.
So now
it's weird. Yeah, no, for sure.
And I'm not the biggest guy on the block, so like I can't. I gotta be able to defend my.
You're not gonna be able. Yo, you want to fuck with me, bro? You're like
I mean, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, no, that's funny.
So 2 hours from Chattanooga. I want to go back up there again because it's really beautiful up there. There's a lot of hiking too.
Yeah,
and I love that like hippie mountain kind of life. You know what I mean? Like just being out in nature.
Damn, you should check out Colorado, bro.
It's on the list.
Boulder, Colorado is very like.
We got a sister-in-law that lives out there.
Yeah,
so we would love to.
Yeah, you got to check it out.
We'd love to.
Utah, Colorado, very kind of like I would feel like hip. Even Oregon, Washington, a little liberal, but definitely like. I mean, you also have like outdoorsy people.
They're extremists.
Yeah, well, in the cities, but then you also have the people.
That's true.
The majority, I don't want to say the majority because cities have so much population, but
exactly
the majority of the land, I guess you could say.
I've been to Seattle a couple times. I've never. There. Okay, great. And then we went to Oregon. And they have like the biggest trees in the world, man. It's so green and beautiful.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
So I love it up there.
It looks awesome.
But yeah, Utah, Colorado, definitely on the list. Really, really love it.
Yeah.
But anyway, you got the Smokies, which are amazing. 2 hours away.
Can't go wrong with that.
Alabama is actually not that bad. It's pretty cool.
You like Alabama?
It's not as like hick as people like say. Yeah. Like it really is not. Like
I mean, you could probably find it, but
you could find it.
Yeah,
you can find it. There's a lot of generalizations. I think I've learned.
Oh my gosh, of course. Of course, dude.
I remember seeing a Facebook post once of a lady. I don't know if she went to high school with us or not, but she's like, I went to college in the South and my experience was nothing but racism or something.
Yeah.
I've lived there 2 years. I've never seen anyone who just has said something like, I don't like being around.
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of those generalizations I think are kind of bogus.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah. Like if you go into the hood, you're going to get shot. It's like, well, it's probably not true. You probably drive down the streets that are bad streets. Mm-hmm. You don't want to go there at certain times. And just like everyone in the South is a racist redneck. It's like, no, they just live in a southern state and some of their families were there for a while and they fall in different things. But it's very funny how there are these fat generalizations. People down south are dumb. Like, no, that's not necessarily true.
That is like the biggest, that's another huge thing.
Yeah, I know.
My mother-in-law she's got an accent, a real strong accent, but she's also Probably the most brilliant woman I've met.
Yeah, I know.
She's got a PhD in chemistry.
I know.
But she's got a real strong accent.
Well, there's the guy that's Dave Ramsey is a financial guy, and they always told like his whole thing was like they always told him like no one's gonna take financial advice from a redneck hillbilly because he's from like Tennessee or something like that. And like now he's one of the most famous like average family kind of like financial guys, and it's just funny. He's like no one was gonna take advice from a hillbilly, but realistically, like he's still got cool information. He can deliver it the right way. I like his voice, honestly. I like his accent.
I watch his. Have you ever seen like his scenarios where there's like someone calls, they got like 300,000 worth of debt.
Dude, the best is when they're really fucked up. I'm like, wow, dude, my life is good, man.
They're like, I'm making 28,000 a year, and I got 300,000 in the day.
It's like, I'm in $700,000 of student loans. I got a $40,000 truck, and I'm like, what are you doing?
I know. I listen to it because it's entertaining, and just to learn from.
There's some things that are very valuable. Like
I've read I read someone's book. Someone on his staff or something. I forget. It's called The Proximity Principle.
Ken Coleman, Proximity Principle.
I read that. I thought that was helpful.
Yeah.
He was saying the same thing over and over again.
I mean, sometimes you kind of need like an old man just to yell at you. It's like, hey, get a job, make more money, work more hours, save your money, stop spending it on bullshit, and start saving some and invest. It's like, okay, thank you. And then you can move on to other places.
Exactly.
Like you can actually use credit and leverage credit, like business credit or stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
it's so big.
The average person will get themselves into credit debt, and like you do have to kind of get yelled at. Like, hey, fucking get another job. It's like, all right, Dave, I will.
No, it's true. I mean, I was literally talking to my brother about this last night, and my wife, like, when I was 18, I didn't have the knowledge that I have now by experience. It's like when I was 18, all my money I was spending on like Hoagie Haven and food and going to the drive-thru every day, and eating like crap and dropping my money on anything.
I know.
But it really comes through like misfortune, I guess, or the pain of not having much, or just, getting yourself in debt maybe. Yeah. You're like, whoa, I really am not handling my money.
Or like for me, like I was realizing like I was working a solid 4 or 5, sometimes even 6 days a week for like a few months, and just like my money wasn't changing. And I was like, well, how am I? Like, I don't really have that many expenses. I'm relatively young. I got to pay for my car. But other than that, like, I can buy like camera gear and invest. But I'm like, I'm not going crazy. But it's like, where's all my money going? You do have to like admit like you're just pissing money away on food and drinks and all these different things. And it's like, all right, how am I? And extra clothes. And like, I don't really buy clothes. I need to buy a new pair of sneakers.
Dude, straight up, like
they're cheap right now.
My wife and I, like, we really have we try to have a really frugal mindset. Like this shirt, American Eagle, but I got it for $4 at Goodwill. Man. I got it for $4 at Goodwill. Why do I need to? Yeah. These shoes, I got these for $20 at Target. Why do I just need clothes, man.
Yeah, I don't want to wear brands. I don't want to wear brands. I don't even want to wear brands anymore. It's like I'd rather just like have someone like, hey, Luke, like what I'm saying and what I'm talking about and the energy that I'm bringing. Yeah, that's one thing that Rogan taught me. Low key, he's like. He always wears like dark color clothes. He always tries to like sometimes hide his tattoos and stuff. Like there's no reason to wear brands and stuff like that. Unless like obviously you're sponsored or your own brand.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing. I mean I don't mind brands. Like sometimes things are just objectively better if it's this brand or that. That's true. And there's time for that, but I'm just not gonna drop my money on that. It's just not worth it. You know what I mean? Like I just what I care more about is just, being healthy, eating the right stuff. And I mean,
when did that journey? We can talk there. Yeah. When did that journey take place?
So honestly, bro, for a while, I mean, I would complain in the back of my head, like, I don't want to look like this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, why do I look like this?
Like your body?
Yeah. Like, and I know like
aesthetic.
A lot of women think it's just women who are that self-conscious. Yeah, but a lot of guys, I know a lot of guys who are really insecure about their weight.
Everybody, dude. Everybody.
Like I had a guy tell me once who was really heavy. He's like, I wish I could look like you. I was like, wow. I mean,
of course,
it's like I'm not even like in shape, but it's really a thing, So I remember in high school, dude, my senior year, I got as heavy as 218. Like I was big, and I'm like maybe 172.
How tall are you?
5'10" or 5'9", one of those.
217, you said? 210?
Yes, I was round.
Yeah, it was big. It's pretty thick.
Yes, I was big. And I remember, honestly, dude, like, this was in high school. I was just in a lot of dark depression.
You're just like a shell of yourself.
Yeah, it's like,
man.
I couldn't do anything but eat. Yeah. Like, I remember going to Wawa, and I would eat, like, a whole family-size mac and cheese.
Fucking snacks.
Yes.
Drinks.
Just eat and soda, root beer. No, seriously. Go to Wawa, but then I'll have a root beer with that. But it was after months of that where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like 218.
And then like, why does my stomach hurt? Why do I
Yeah,
feel
exactly.
like shit?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I lost all that weight and I got down to like 180 or 185 for the last couple of years. I've been at that weight. But then just like 6 or 8 months ago, I mean, my wife has a huge role in this because she's always eating clean. Like her snacks growing up were fruits, baked nuts, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I have a friend that
vegetables all the time.
I have a friend, dude, I go over his house and he just eats mad healthy. And I'm just like objectively speaking, I'm like, wow, this is fascinating that this kid eats so healthy. I could go to my other friend's house and they're eating cookies and cakes and shit.
So this January, so this past year, I got up again. I was like 190 probably in December. So I cannot do this.
And you weren't exercising though, right?
Not regularly.
Okay.
Not regularly. I am now regularly. Okay. But yeah, and January 1st this past year, I said, you know what, I'm going to do no sugar. So I did no added sugar. So obviously you're still eating fruits and stuff like that.
For
like
sure.
Natural sugars.
You need fruits.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But nothing like I'm not going to eat cookies. I'm not going to drink soda. I'm not even going to eat meals that have added sugar in it. Just completely cut it out because that stuff is like poison.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No ice cream, nothing like that. So for about a month and a half, I did it. I lost probably like 15 pounds and I wasn't even working out.
Yeah, relatively easy.
And my mental clarity, I was making better judgments about things. I felt great. I didn't feel as foggy. I also wasn't getting tired at like 2 PM, like, just about to pass out.
Real like that insulin spike.
Yes. Yeah. Also, I didn't know that sugar, it can cause like tightness in your knees and stuff.
Sure. It's inflammation.
Yeah, exactly. Inflammation. Yeah. So I was like, I just felt loose. Everywhere. Yeah. I felt loose and good and clean.
Of course.
So now I brought it back into the diet now, but it's just really, I think the key is just moderation.
Moderation.
You know what I mean? So it's like.
It's a lifestyle.
Exactly. Because.
When you break that kind of habit of like cookies and hoagies and chips and soda, and you admit like, there comes a point like, I don't drink soda. Like I don't drink soda. Even when if I go out to the bar, I won't drink. I really don't even have mix. I'll just have beer. But like I don't drink soda. I don't drink juice.
Yeah.
I'll have a little bit of like chocolate milk, but like I don't really drink regular milk. I drink a little bit of almond milk. I know there's some people that really do recommend like raw milk and milk in general. There's like a whole like argument. There's so many diets.
Exactly.
You drive yourself crazy about nutrition.
But yeah, I'm convinced the best diet though, it really is a high protein, high vegetable diet. And low carb. That's my
high protein, high fat. I think the high protein, high fat. Yeah. And then you do have to get the vegetables. People that say, "Oh, vegetables are bad." I don't believe that. Vegetables make me feel good. So
no, that's the thing. I had a bunch of broccoli the other day. I was like, I feel incredible.
Feel good. Yeah, you have those nutrients. I do believe you need animal protein, like the whole like vegan.
Oh, without a doubt. I don't hold to veganism.
And I do also believe that certain animal protein that we have is like these mass farmed animals where they're sitting in a cage eating shit that they can't digest. There is an argument that that's probably not the best meat for you, but I still think that's better than processed food or sugars or anything.
But what I do is I like to flip the switch on the person because I've had people who are vegan who come to me and I just say, well, a lot of the stuff you were talking about, a lot of our crops are so genetically modified. So what's the difference with that and food and meat? You know what I mean? So just flip it around.
100%.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
100% right. You're having pesticides and GMOs and 100%. But also the meat you're eating kind of like a depressed, fucked up cow and shit. So it's such a fine line. I know you're never going to win. The only thing you can do is hunt animals and have a garden.
Exactly. So one thing my wife has really taught me is that food is actually medicine for the body. And I never, ever looked at that in my entire life.
Yeah, it shouldn't be tasty.
Yeah.
Well, and if it is, it can be tasty. Right? Like you use spices and things like this, but it shouldn't be like this sweet, like if you give like a dog or an animal something like that's mad on that, unless like obviously if you feed your dog bullshit all the time, it's gonna be used to it. But if you give like your dog a little piece of candy, it'll be like it'll be so sweet because it's not used to like those sweet like high sugar, high sodium.
Exactly. I
think it's rotting your teeth.
Oh my gosh! Do you ever have like ice cream and your teeth hurt? I've had that. I was like, this is horrible. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And I just had coffee ice cream last night, and I'll have it, but it's just a lifestyle.
For sure.
Like my body's primary energy source just cannot be bad for
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I can have a little like a few chips at nighttime. I can have a little I can have this, I can have a little sip. My primary source of energy and food, it can't be this horrible content. That's great.
Yeah, bro. I think what I've just learned though is like awesome, you gotta eat to live, not live to eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone just told me that like a month ago. Yeah. So that's a good way to put it because I remember just gorging myself. No realization of what I'm putting into my body at all.
And in my, you get to a point where like you're I'm busy, or like I don't want, like there's people that spend like a lot of hours and time eating chips and eating this and cleaning mouth and then it's like I don't have the time to eat all that. I want to eat. Get my meals in, get my food, and then I got stuff to do. I got to go to the gym, got to go to work, got to work on some stuff.
So for exercising, I'm a part of this group called F3. I don't think they have it up here in New Jersey, but basically we do 5-day-a-week workouts, Monday to Friday.
It's like an Orange Theory, probably.
I don't even know if I know what Orange Theory is, but I'll explain it to you basically. So basically we go out in a field 5 days a week or a parking lot, and we do all mostly stationary workouts. And it's high intensity, and it's all full body, and it's like boot camp.
Yeah.
So we're not always adding weight, but sometimes we are.
Burpee. Awesome.
Oh yeah. So like we do burpees.
Stuff's hard.
Burpees, lunges, bear crawls.
This stuff is hard. Yeah.
And it really, really, it is really hard, but it sets my day up so well.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it gives me mental clarity. I'm also with a bunch of guys because I don't have the discipline to go out there and do that on my own 5 days a week. But if I'm in a group chat with 40 guys. And if I don't show up for 3 weeks straight, someone's going to call me out. Like, where's this guy at?
Yeah,
you know
well, that's good that you hold yourself accountable, that even maybe I don't have the willpower to do that. I'll put myself in a position to where other people will call me out. And I don't like that, so I'll go to the gym.
Exactly. So
that's like powerful.
Yeah,
that's enough willpower in that, man. That's awesome.
It's faith-based, so it stands for fellowship.
Okay.
Fellowship. What is it? Fellowship, faith, and fitness or something like that. So we do other activities too where we'll go to the brewery maybe once a month or something. Yeah. Or we did something where we volunteered at a food bank or something. We're going to do something where because guys really need this. Like I know so many guys who they don't work out at all.
Yeah.
And they're just, they don't even eat clean. You're just moping around, man.
Dude, I know this. I know.
So I just feel like you have to.
I know.
Every day is a battle, and you have to put your mind towards it and fight.
I know.
In every area of life. But I think this area of fitness, and I'm still learning. Like I'm often hypocritical, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But it's just having the knowledge of it. But every day is a fight, and you really have to tell yourself like, I gotta win this day.
Yeah.
But the food, I think, is really, if you can get that under control, then I think it starts rolling over.
And
to
it is
areas.
a lifestyle because like you have to eat for the rest of your life. It's like this weird thing of like because I put on a lot of pounds. I don't want to say a lot compared to some people, but compared to other people, compared to what I am now, I put on a lot of pounds. And I was like thick in the face. I was like out of shape. I was so insecure. Yep. And it was just like a time of like going from senior year of high school into college and just not exercising, just eating, partying, having fun, not caring at all because doesn't really matter and stuff. And just feeling like shit about yourself, not really knowing why. And then slowly and surely kind of realizing and having to be honest with yourself and your conscious, like, yo, you're fat, you feel like shit, you know why. And it's like only you can fix it. Going to the gym and exercising is going to fix it. And it's like you have to go to the gym. It's like just because you like sit around all day and be like, well, I wish I was skinnier. And it's like, I don't really want to go to the gym. It's like it comes to a point, it's like I know you don't want to go. You have to go to the gym. You look like shit. You feel like shit. You have to feel better about yourself. And then it's the slow grind. There's days where like you miss like a few days. For sure. And you have to convince yourself and you get in this motion. But then it kind of becomes a lifestyle where it's like easy to go to the gym. Like it's relatively easy. And now I can, if I want to, on a slow day where I don't really feel good or whatever it is, I can go to the gym for 30, 40 minutes and even just like sit in the sauna for 20 minutes, stretch, do a mobility, like be around people that are exercising and stuff.
Yeah, I miss the sauna.
That just makes you feel so much better about yourself.
I know. I miss the sauna. I see your Instagram posts all the time.
I love the sauna.
I don't have a gym membership, and I did, but they didn't have a sauna. It was like this really mom and pop gym. But that's one thing I miss so much because I feel amazing when I come out of the sauna. Yeah, you know what I mean?
I love it, man.
Now I can feel like that if I go on an hour run. I will feel what I feel after a sauna. Yeah. But you got to go work for it. You know, you got to go earn that feeling. Yeah,
I feel even better after a run than the sauna. But the sauna's different. The sauna I do more for like it release inflammation and it calms myself down and release some of the toxins and stuff.
Yeah. Like what are toxins though? Like people say that. And I know what you mean, and I know it's true, but I don't even know like what it actually is.
All right, so toxins in the sauna.
Like, what are toxins? I mean, in theory, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I experienced that, but what exactly is it?
So let's try to, this is how I kind of look at it. It could be also toxins probably in the pores of your skin. number one. You start sweating those things out for sure. And then you probably have sweat pores, sweat glands. You probably have different like kind of like patches where you're just sweating like just shit out of your body. And there's probably like where the salt and the nutrients kind of that's why you do have to kind of like sometimes I'll sit in the sauna too long and I have a headache the next day. Okay. And that's because I don't, and I've learned this now that I don't, especially running, I know you're putting on like 8 miles sometimes. You might want to actually have like a little glass of salt water and like really replenish like your sodium.
After the workout.
Almost maybe sometimes before or after, maybe early morning, first thing in the morning, have like salt. It might dehydrate your mouth a little bit in the morning, but for the most part, you really do kind of want that sodium. Like there is a false nutritious narrative that sodium is bad and it raises cholesterol and all this bullshit when realistically the sugar industry's paid those scientists to say that, which is disgusting, but we still kind of have to deal with that stigma. But yeah, especially if we're exercising and going to the sauna, you want that sodium in your body because you're gonna release all that stuff. So then you also look at like your muscles and like tendons and stuff, like almost like let's say it's like wrapped up like this, right? They're all connected, it's wrapped up. When you're in the sauna, it slowly loosens, right? And you get blood flow, but it's also like releasing like different things and chemicals that are sitting in there, and it slowly brings them to the pores of your body with the salt and the sodium, and then it kind of releases it, and it releases kind of that inflammation, gets more blood flow. I think that's like the main ideology behind it. So
I mean, it makes sense.
It does, yeah.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And the sodium thing you said is really interesting because that's a really, like, someone just told us, a medical professional, that they were like, well, if you keep eating like red meat or the sodium, you can be in risk of heart disease. And it's like, I don't think that's true at all.
I mean, you can go and take your own position.
Yeah.
You can list. I'll just use Rogan, for example. He's had on multiple nutritionists, full-on scientists, and cardiologists that have all these different opinions. Whether like kind of veganism's the way, there's cardiologists, full-on doctors, medical doctors that believe veganism's the way, and meat is raising your IGF-1 levels too much, and too much cholesterol, and too much inflammation in meat. And then there's doctors that will absolutely say that's not true. And they all have like different evidence and shit. So it's like a never-ending battle. But I
feel like medicine's it's so contingent on the person too, because for one person this could be really bad, but for another person it's just subjective. You know what I mean? There is truths obviously, but
no, you're right.
You know what I mean? It's subjective. Right, so like me, I try to eat a lot of meat, and I haven't had an issue with, cholesterol or anything like that. And I eat a lot of meat. So, yeah.
Well, there's the carnivore MD who does have, he admitted, he got his blood work done. He does have very high cholesterol. I think his LDL is very high, but he goes into the science of like what that means. And like it's just because he has high cholesterol from eating meat, doesn't per se mean that that's unhealthy. And he's living like an unhealthy lifestyle or having a bad diet.
Carnivore diet is fascinating.
It's fascinating, right?
Yeah, I want to read a book on it. Haven't read it yet. There's this guy I ran into at a coffee shop a couple months ago who he did the carnivore diet. No, I don't like the Liver King. I'm just kidding. No, I think he's kind of whack. But
I think he's kind of whack.
But anyway, this guy he's a cop. He was like 400 pounds, and now he's probably like 220, looks really solid, good. Yeah. And he says his blood work looks great. And he just eats a T-bone steak a day, maybe some sausage or bacon here and there, maybe eggs here and there too. Yeah. And he was like telling me, I run into him all the time. He's like, well, I'm waiting for you to email me. I want to tell you all about it, send you all these sources. But I haven't really taken that initiative. But I am interested. I have heard what it did to Michaela Peterson. And changing her life, taking away chronic Peterson illnesses. Too. Yeah.
I'm almost him too.
So I'm interested in it. It's definitely
Rogan kind of starting to swear by it now. Really
I thought maybe just doing it for a week, maybe a month, just to see what it's like.
For sure.
But I mean, because we've really been eating animal-based things for thousands of years. Like this, it's natural to be eating this stuff. Yes,
but I do think it's also natural to incorporate plants as well and different plants and vegetables.
I love spinach and kale and Brussels sprouts and broccoli. I love that
You'll
stuff.
You'll hear full carnivore doctors say like, they're not good for you and all this shit. You're like, oh my God, I don't know what to believe now. It's like, just give me a bacon, egg, and cheese.
That's just what Nazi.
But yeah, no, that's awesome. And then you're running a lot? Are you training for a marathon, half marathon? You think about doing anything special, buddy?
I haven't signed up yet, but I am very, very much so thinking about signing up for the Atlanta Marathon in next February.
You should. Full marathon.
Full marathon.
Wow.
Now I've been training. I haven't really worked out the last week and a half. I had some really bad sickness, but yeah, I just feel so much joy when I run, and I feel like my body I feel like I'm doing wonders for the body when I run. I'm in a good headspace, and I feel like this is what I need to do. And also, I do F3, which is the workout I was telling you about. That only complements my running. My times have only gotten better because of that.
Yeah.
Like the high intensity stuff there and the resistance training actually makes me have better endurance. So my first run, honestly, I just started running again probably 2 months ago. But I had taken a 2-year break because I ran a lot during COVID. Then I stopped 2 years. Started doing it again. The F3 stuff, I just woke up and I was able to do like 7 miles. Yeah. And that stuff only helps you. You know what I mean? Of course. So yeah, the goal is to do a marathon this next upcoming February. I haven't signed up yet. I got a lot going on. You know, I'm in a career change right now, and we've got a baby coming, and there's other things to figure out. But that's the goal.
Of course.
But also training is, you hear different things about when to start. Like, I don't know if now is even the time to start. I might need to wait 4 months before or something.
Yeah, you might want to wait.
Because I don't want to, max out or get in a situation where
February's a while away, so you might want to wait.
Exactly. But that's the goal. I just feel like, man, like, I tell myself this a lot. When I'm 80 years old, Lord willing, I live to that age. I don't want to look back and say, why didn't I not try this? Or why did I not do that?
Dude,
like, so my friend just took me up in one of his planes a couple weeks ago, and I was so nervous. Now, I've been on a bunch of jets, but I haven't been in his little plane.
I'd be scared.
Yeah. I was so nervous to do it. But I was like, I don't want to be 80 years old thinking about why didn't I get in that plane?
With Billy and his plane. Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? So why don't I go ahead and do this? That's how I feel about this.
That's good, bro.
I've had a desire for a while. What is holding me back from doing it? Now, like I said, I haven't signed up yet, but I really want to do it, and I think I'm going to do it.
That's awesome.
So,
I'm going to hold you to it. So.
Please.
I'll hold you to it.
But another thing about running, though, is the joints. Like, it really, I don't have joint issues, but I've had times now where I've done a 10 or 11 mile run, and I'm in pain. And the endurance is actually there, and the energy's there. But the pain is holding me back. So I got to really look into whether that's taking calcium, doing certain stretches.
Yeah, you're going to want to do certain stretches. I'm sure you'd be surprised how, like, you have tightness here or here, and it all stems from your hips or somewhere, like, around here. So I could probably bet most people have tight hips and glutes. So you start with trying to do some stretches and stuff like
yoga.
that. Some yoga could definitely help.
Well, I know Goggins does like 3 hours.
Like a 2-hour stretch. Yeah, I can't do that.
And another reason about the marathon though is I don't want to. I mean, I kind of alluded to this, but I don't want to waste my prime years. Like you and I, these next like 10, 15 years, we'll never feel like this again.
I know. That's why. So my friends.
Why not go give everything? Why be fat? Why eat whatever you want to eat? Go be a beast. You know what I mean? Go be a monster.
I know, we're only young ones, so we have to try to live it up as much as possible. That's why I try to tell my friends as well. So it's lit. That's lit that you're doing that.
I really want to do it. I'm trying to.
That's exciting stuff.
It's
the Atlanta Marathon. 26.2. That's a long ways.
I've done like 11 and 12 mile runs before, and the energy was there. So I think I can definitely do it. Yeah,
as long as you stay healthy, as long as you keep the knees and the joints and the feet all good.
Yeah, I think most people can do it.
Yeah,
I think Rogan said like most people can get ripped. It's really true.
Yeah, I think so.
Like I think almost 98% of people can get in pristine shape. There are some people who cannot lose weight.
Nah, it's bullshit.
You don't think so?
I don't believe that at all. I mean, some people with like a thyroid issue, maybe, but even that, like Joe Rogan has a thyroid issue, but like I think that's a lot of this like genetic stuff. Oh, I have genetics and I can't lose weight. It's like, okay, buddy, I don't believe that.
Yeah, I think for the absolute most part, that's true. I mean, maybe some people have hormone issues, or whatever,
like stuff like that, and it's very difficult. But
yeah, I just want to.
I'm sure
want
there
to see
some
people thrive.
Thick hunter gatherers back in the day that somehow stayed like thick, but for the most part, like different body types. There's a mesomorph, endomorph, whatever it is. There's people that are kind of like even Rogan's kind of shaped like a thumb. He's a small guy, and that. But like at the end of the day, like getting fat is from sedentary lifestyle and a horrible diet.
Well, I saw that one video with him where he said like look at a picture. He said, like, look at a picture from someone like in the 30s. There's no fat people.
No.
There's no fat people. I mean, here and there, but for the most part, there's no fat people.
And I watched it. I was looking at this one photo of people waiting in line in the Great Depression. And, dude, every color, shape, size, all wearing like a suit and tie and a hat. And I was like, oh, these people are waiting in line because they're broke and they're still wearing a suit and tie. I was like, that's fascinating. I dressed up the other day for my friend's birthday and we went to like Atlantic City, but it was just like nice, like actually dressing up and feeling like sharp and like dressing like kind of fancy and
I love it.
Going out.
You just feel,
you feel smart. You feel accomplished. I want to start doing that. Yeah. I definitely got to. Yeah. That looks fun.
Man. So, well, like what's going on with you? I know you told me last time I was here about you wanted to make a documentary about the Washington crossing.
Yeah.
And then you said you wanted to have a lot more guests on.
Yeah.
Like, what's the update?
What is going on with fucking Luke Vaughn? Yeah, so I still have to wait for the Washington. I've been reading like a whole bunch of different books. Honestly, like I've been kind of getting my finances really in order. Like I got my Roth IRA. I put in like a whole bunch of stuff into the Roth. I got my investments and market's crashing. So I've really been going hard just, trying to buy into the market
my
right now.
Cryptocurrency is destroyed.
Yeah, buy more crypto. That's all I would say. I don't know. This is not financial advice, but just buy more. I think housing's going to go down. Everything's crazy. You could probably get land pretty soon for some good money. So I want to get my money. Had to get my money right. Like I said, I've been working hardcore, and so I was making I made some music videos and doing some photography for.
So you make music?
No, I don't make music.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't make music, but I did help like make like behind the scenes, like vlogs for some of the musicians, photography. I've shot a few music videos, edited them for a couple guys. Shout out to Chris Bell and X and some of those guys. I'd like to have another musician on the podcast, but yeah, I'm in this weird position of like where I read all these books and like not all these books, like I'm some fucking genius, but I read books. Like I want to talk to professors. Like I read Thomas Sowell and I want to.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah. So I've emailed a bunch of professors to come on the podcast, and obviously I don't know what the fuck they're doing, but no one's really emailing.
No one answered you back?
No, nobody's emailing back. I'm sure they probably have midterms. I'm probably should hit that probably should email that professor once again because midterms and finals are all over. So I probably should email him again. But yeah, I really just got to start expanding with the actual podcast and the brand. And so right now I'm in a position of I kind of want to. I'm kind of planning to get my LLC. Like I said, I'm saving my money. I'm getting my LLC, and then from there, basically like my podcasts, my vlogs, my videography, photography will all be under my LLC. And then I can get business bank account, business credit card. I can leverage business credit. I can do marketing, write it off a little bit better with taxes, use kind of business credit to do a lot of some of that stuff. And that's kind of where I'm at. And then I can kind of scale again using business credit. I can buy a couple more lenses. And then from there, I'm in the position I haven't charged anybody for photography or videography, but I'm kind of getting to a point where I could charge people for photography and videography. And once I have the LLC, that's the goal. So I'm going to meet with a few people and probably take a few little courses and classes online and figure out a few like kind of sound. I don't want to do weddings because it's just people's special day. It's like I don't want to fuck somebody's day up, didn't get the special picture.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Crazy women.
Well, I applaud you, bro, because you keep going. I don't know how long have you had it. You've had it for more than like a year and a half.
Yeah, probably like 2 years.
You got a goal and you're trying to get there.
Yeah.
And you're doing what you can and you're being steadfast. So just keep going, man.
Slowly. Yeah, I realized like especially like even listen to Dave Ramsey. I just kind of like there was like a moment of realization of like you're not gonna get rich quick, and there's like no point of even trying to convince yourself or like manipulate yourself. It's like there is a sense you can save 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand, and then you can leverage yourself and learn different things with that asset, and then you can take a loan or whatever it may be. You can get into real estate. Real estate's like kind of like a big overhead, but if real estate starts going, if the real estate market crashes, like which it may not, I don't know.
Hope not.
But you can get houses for 20, 30, 40 grand, and then you can start renting those things out depending the neighborhood and stuff like that.
So the goal is to accumulate wealth right now.
Accumulate wealth, make life a little bit easier. I don't need to be like a billionaire. I don't want to be a billionaire. I don't want to be poor. I don't want to be poor.
I see what you're saying though.
But yeah, like realistically, I'm going to really get my finances together before I probably settle down with like a woman or a wife or anything like that. I have read some red pill books. They're fucking phenomenal, dude. I will be honest. They're so fascinating. Learning like the psychology of the male, female, like sexual interrelationship. It's fascinating. But, yeah, so I'm gonna have the LLC, and then I'm gonna learn basically. I'm gonna finalize like kind of portrait photography. Let's say you and your wife want to take pictures, and you get a professional photographer.
Yeah.
Like you kind of have to get a professional photographer.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
So that's like kind of like a steady income I can rely on, and then I can do travel photography and stuff like that. So the goal right now, honestly, my boss is getting married. I know a few people getting married too, so it's funny. But my boss is getting married in July. My job's going on break for like a week, so I'm probably just going to give him the heads up soon, and that's probably going to be my last week working. Wow. And that's like July 4th. And then my friend's got a house, and I kind of have a whole plan. My friend's got a house in LBI. Go hang out in LBI for a little bit, and then I'm going to probably travel and make my way down to Tennessee. Okay. My friend lives in Cookeville, Tennessee. He's got his own house, own property. Okay. I'm going to have my car fully set up to be like a livable vehicle type of thing.
I love it so much.
And I'm going to use his house to like kind of be a point, like make a campsite probably out of his house, but also go inside of his house and cook but really do photography, videography, vlogs, and documentary journalistic stuff all throughout there.
So do you still want to have this be home base, or what's, because I know you mentioned
I like the studio. I mean, the studio is beautiful. This wasn't like the craziest, like I didn't drop like 10 grand on the studio. So it's not like I'm leaving like a crazy investment. The most expensive things are these microphones. I do want to figure out to be able to, I do want to podcast on the road. Like let's say I meet someone in Virginia, right? And he's like or let's say I'm in Tennessee and I know a professor at Tennessee Tech right by Thomas's house, and I have a podcast either in Thomas's house or at the school or something simple in the library. I don't know. I want to be able to set myself, because I could have the camera. I do want a little bit of a microphone though. So the camera's already, we have the check. I can do a podcast, whether that's just take the audio from the camera and just turn it into a podcast. I have the video. Sweet. So I want to continue the podcast and the conversations and stuff like that, and also just do the vlogs. And
Well, what do you pump? It seems like you pump out like one a month maybe, or
a podcast. Yeah. I want to do more. Okay. If I had the guests, I want to do more. But there's only so many people that are doing things, and there's only so many people that could like, because I don't want to talk about like, I don't know, bullshit. Like I don't want to have like these fake conversations, like these social media fake conversations. I do want to
talk about real things,
get into the weeds of certain things, and have like cool conversations. And I also like, I mean, like, and there also is a fine line. Like I like people that have an opinion. So people that have an opinion a lot of people disagree with that guy, right? Or a lot of people agree with it, right? So it's like, it's hard to find nowadays. Everyone's so scared to get canceled. I think even our generation just naturally growing up.
We live in a really strange world, man.
Yeah, and it's like no one has a fucking opinion. No one thinks anything.
Exactly, and this is the time to have an opinion. Like for instance, like my wife and I have a conviction where there's no way we can send our children to public school. Like my little daughter cannot be told like that she has a certain identity that's flexible.
I know,
stuff like that.
Know.
But this is, but I mean, we're in a
no that the fact like, and I know like you hear people like, and my aunt will come over, right? Just for instance, my aunt will come over. She has no kids, no husband, no nothing, right? And she works kind of in like, she worked in politics, very liberal. Probably comes from a good place of heart, but like she talks about all these like topics. I'm like the average, I'm like, honestly, like the average person isn't worried about that anymore. It's like the average person doesn't want someone breaking in their house or rioting the neighborhood. And the average person doesn't want their children to be taught that there's no such thing as gender. They can be like whatever. There's all these different things. White people are the ultimate racist, and we have to segregate them in classrooms. They're doing this in public classrooms. It's crazy. And you're leaving up to like second and third grade teachers to teach kids that can't even fucking add numbers together and make real sentences to teach them that there's no such thing as gender. Like, dude, they're confused. I could be like brainwashing. It could be.
No,
like
it is brainwash. Like, it's 1984.
It's like, I don't know if someone's in our country destroying it from the inside out. That's what it seems like, bro.
I think it's probably intentional. But seriously, so this is why it's such a big deal. And I think I've actually like put it under the rug the last couple of years. And now I'm seeing like how important this is. Fundamentally, it goes against my actual beliefs and faith. So like against Christian doctrine, it is completely unbiblical and wrong, so I do not hold to that. But also because we were made a certain way, and we are a certain way for thousands of years, ever since we've existed, there's been a male and a female. And this is so crazy because we're talking about changing our fundamental ontology of who we are.
I know.
So this is the most radical stuff. It's insane.
I know.
So that's why it's we're in a culture war. There's a book called Strange New World. I'll have to send you a copy. I am about to start it, but it goes through the fact that how, like 2,000 years ago, 20 years ago, if I said I am a female in a male body, that statement would have sounded absurd.
Yeah.
So how is that now rational to people?
We're not only rational, but we're willing to teach that. That's the thing.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
So this is the thing. We've had patriarchy, and I think patriarchy is actually a good thing. Male. I'm serious. And now let me explain what I mean.
I know.
Let me explain. And that doesn't mean the male is more valuable. Nothing like that.
I know exactly where you're
so the
go.
male,
very philosophical kind of way, but
the male is the head, the female submits, and not in a way that's oppressive at all. Because anytime a male abuses his authority, he should be held responsible for that. And but anyway, what I'm trying to say is that we were made a certain way, and I believe God made us that way. And it's a good thing for the male to be the leader or the woman to be the follower or whatever it is. And for the woman to be at home and the male to be at work. And those are very controversial things. But this is the thing. They look at that as oppressive or wrong. When it's never been like that. For thousands of years, we've flourished. Well, I think we've had generations.
I think they shaped the narrative. I think they shaped the narrative that women were forced to stay home and they were kind of abused at home and they were always getting fucked up. And it's hey, you can't do anything. You're stupid. You're dumb. Stay quiet. And then they were also getting abused in their science. I think that's part of it. Anyway. I think they were also shaped that narrative and kind of sold that to the
exactly. And that probably
I don't know how many people were. And I'm sure men that were very easily I could easily get away with just smacking my wife when she's annoying. Probably happened much more often than
I'm
we
sure.
think,
And that's horrible. And if a man does that, he should be held accountable. That's terrible. But anyway, for thousands of years, we've built this great Western civilization off of the ideals of, man and women together, being married, and we're going to build this great society.
Yes.
So now we're in the 21st century where we want to reverse all that. We should expect serious, unbelievable consequences if we're going to turn that around.
No.
Crazy. We are in a crazy area. I could not send my kids to public school in a good conscience. I can't.
But so is Georgia teaching? Because Georgia's pretty conservative, right?
It is conservative, but it's not here where, you might. I think someone just told me yesterday, their third graders learning about sex or something like that, something crazy.
That's what the law they're trying to pass,
or whatever, whatever it is. Where it's not there, but at the same time, a lot of the woke stuff there and the gender stuff. If it's not there, it's on the border, about to be there.
Yes.
So now we have to arm up, and it's a battle, and we have to go to war. And the worst thing to do is to sit around. It really is the worst thing. Even though it's hard, I got people in my life who think I'm a crazy man. I'm the bad guy in this. I'm not loving because I disagree with the LGBTQ agenda, that I am somehow an unloving person. It's not that at all. I don't look at it like that at all. I don't think you're less of a human. I think we're equally valuable. We just disagree. But it comes again to that place where you can't, like you just said, we can't disagree with one another. You have to agree with everything I say. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And it's fascism, right?
Well, that's what it is.
And they literally say these conservatives are fascists. It's it's a very fine line until now you are the fascist, twisting the narrative.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
And that's
it's a fine line, dude. It's a fine line teaching these young kids, bro. These young kids.
Yeah.
Before they even get taught what government is, they're getting taught what gender is. What?
But it's also weird.
Taught government in 4th grade. We're getting taught I'm 8 years old and I know what the judicial branch is. It's what the fuck? We should probably wait a little bit until you're 12 or 13.
But it's weird though how much they want to talk about sex and stuff.
Yes, I know. Well, it is an agenda. At this point, it's an agenda.
That's the thing.
It's why do you need to teach these kids that they're in their own world? Just make sure they don't fight each other and hurt each other.
And I don't think that we should have those conversations when we're older, of course, but I don't need to be hearing that if I'm in 4th grade.
And at the end of the day, the average elementary school, middle school teachers, in my opinion, and for the most part, not equipped knowledgeably intellectually enough about this subject to teach about real gender relations. If you're going to go into the what's transgender and binary and non-binary and gay and a homosexual, you better know what the fuck you're talking about before you just start bringing up. And in my opinion, I've been around teachers my whole entire life. I don't think they're knowledgeable enough to go into that complexity about gender and the real. They don't really know it. They're just reading off a textbook. Like, they make like 40, 50 grand a year. Like, they're just kind of like, half of them are hooking up with each other in classrums. Now I know, like, it's fine, but it's like, that's life. Like, but at the end of the day, they are in a position where they're in a position to really like kind of brainwash our children.
It's true. I mean, the thing is, they don't believe in objective truth anymore. So, but this is the thing. They say that objective truth is not true, but it's an objective truth if you say something's not objectively true. If you see what I'm saying. So it's like,
and then your head just explodes.
It's like, whoa, inconsistent with what they're saying. And it's really postmodernism, like where there's no absolute truth.
Yes. And
a society will not last if it's not based on objective principles.
Well, that is what the book, The Reason for God, kind of starts. That's like the main. Okay. I'm about to finish, but that's like the main kind of like I guess grounding point. Like stick the flag in. It's like they're at some point. It's like, okay, you don't want women to be oppressed. Why? It's like, and you have to articulate why. And it's like, well, women have just as much rights as men. It's like, okay, why? It's
what's
like,
a right?
It's like, what's a right? Yeah,
That's
it's like, how do you give yourself a right? It's like, you don't deserve a right if there's no absolute. That's fast. There's a feeling. Oh, it's fascinating.
I'm so happy you read that because
it's fascinating.
That's the biggest thing because we live in an era of rights. Right now, I have a right to an abortion. I have a right to marry a woman. I have a right to do this, or this.
Like, how are these rights
But
there?
where does your right come from?
Yeah.
The Constitution actually says your right comes from God. I mean, the Declaration of Independence says your right comes from God. Even if you don't believe in God, it says it comes from God. Because you can't have a right without a higher principle that is kind of confirming that, which I would believe to be the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, God. But you have to have something that's beyond yourself, that's confirming that right, that's outside of space and time, that's superior than you, which is God. God rights do not make sense fundamentally. And I think if you follow the logic pattern like we're talking about, you don't have a right to anything unless there's a God. That's what that book's arguing. That's what I hold to.
Yeah, unless there is like an ultimate truth. No, it's very fascinating.
Because there is no truth. There is no, you know what I mean? And I think he proposes this in the book, like, what's to stop me from really doing anything if there's not an objective right or wrong?
Yeah.
And that's where Friedrich Nietzsche went, really. And I think I've heard you talk about him. Have you talked about him
Nietzsche,
on the podcast?
Nietzsche?
Is that how you say Nietzsche?
Yeah.
So what happened with him was now I'm not the scholar on him really, but I've read some of his stuff in college. Like, if you don't believe that right and wrong are real from an objective standpoint, then ultimately, you're not really going to get anywhere. Why should I not go shoot up this place or do something horrible if right and wrong are not real things?
Yeah.
And with his life, it was a testimony because he actually became clinically insane. Like his worldview, the way he viewed the world, took him with where his life went.
Yeah.
He went crazy. He was
like
in
you look into the abyss long enough.
He ended up in an asylum.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you say something that crazy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But
it's
anyway,
interesting.
I'm glad you're challenged by the book.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's interesting.
Makes you think, right?
Yeah, I love the books that make me think.
I mean, you have to be challenged.
Yeah, you have to be willing to like I was reading The Principles of Communism. I have the Communist Manifesto.
Okay.
Read it. Let's see what they got to say and stuff.
Private property is the devil, the root of all evil, right? I think he says that.
Yeah, they get
like that.
Yes, they get. I don't know that they just maybe it was from the time period or the life that they lived in. That it was very non-full perspective. It was a very like lack of full perspective. Like very obviously, like you're not kind of taking into human nature and this like idea of like this cycle that does happen. Like, and like it's like, okay, if we let your side of like socialism, communism happens, like what will happen? Like you're kind of giving us a utopian. You haven't given us any cons. Like you have to give us cons if you're going to give us a realistic view.
Exactly.
There's no cons. It's all pro. It's at that point, it's not real, right? We're talking about a utopian kind of fake society. There are issues in life, and we have to try to like accommodate to them. And if you're not going to admit that, then it's like it's very hard to adopt.
Yeah, well, communism it's rooted in atheism, and there's no hope. The only hope is to have a utopia. But like you said, it doesn't account for human nature.
Yeah.
So like what communism did, what Mao did, he killed like 60 million Chinese people. And Pol Pot in Cambodia in the 1980s, he killed like 1/3 of his population. So communism, the ideology practiced out, if you don't agree with it, you're the wrong.
And Mao killed those people thinking he's doing the right thing.
Exactly.
And at some point, like there has to be some world truth that he's not right. Like, right? Yeah. Like, the world must agree that Mao
they thought he
not
was
right to kill these people, right?
Well, I just read Yunomi Park's Escape from North Korea.
Fascinating.
Yeah, great book. I read it in January, and like they thought Kim Jong-il or Kim Jong-un?
Kim Jong-un.
They literally think he's God. So he can't be wrong. So you're gonna literally.
I'm sure Putin tries to shape that narrative for himself too.
Yeah. But it shows you how corrupt human nature is.
Think about our media about Joe Biden. Like, this guy can't form a sentence. So that was a pretty good speech. It's like, what? The guy didn't even say anything.
Did you see that clip with him?
I don't know. I see so many. I can't even watch it.
There was one clip where it's like, what do you think is Putin a war criminal? No. And then he like walks like 10 feet, and then you can tell like someone's probably said something to him. And he walks back. He's like, what did you ask me? And they were like, is Putin a war criminal? Yes. And I remember listening to Michael Knowles. He was like, someone definitely just whispered something in this guy's ear to say something. You know?
No, dude, it's bad. No, it's
but
bad.
People, and that's the thing. People are actually telling themselves there's nothing wrong with him.
What world are we living? It's like you make me sound like I'm some crazy Republican just for saying like, hey, I don't think Biden really fucking is with it right now.
Dude, there's something wrong.
Oh,
and
man,
people disagree. Like I actually tell people like I'd rather have Kamala. And my wife.
Oh, I don't know.
My wife hates when I say that. But the only reason is because
would rather have Joe Biden, honestly.
But don't you need someone like sentient, like who's making rational judgments?
I think she's more sold out than Joe. I think Joe at least has. Literally, he has balls. Maybe.
My wife's like. And my dad tells me this too. He's like, Obama's running the country.
Yeah, I think Obama and Clinton. I think Hillary's still in that.
But this is the thing. It's like if we talk to most people our age, they're thinking we're the crazy ones.
I know. Well,
okay. Maybe I'm not talking to the right people.
Yeah, I think the bros. I'll say this: the bros are too dumb to articulate themselves, and you got to hold the bros accountable. Like, bros, we got to start doing some research. You can't just be like, because a lot of people are like. I know a lot of people that voted for Trump just because they're so anti. Mr. Potato Head's a transgender. Okay, I'm going to have to vote for Trump now. And I'm telling you, like, there's a lot of people that did that. But those people have to hold themselves accountable. Like, why'd you vote for Trump? Why are you gonna claim this guy? Mm-hmm. Like, I understand if you don't like that Mr. Potato Head's being called a transgender and all these things that are going on, you got to have to figure out why, right? You don't just want to jump ships.
Yeah, there's Tim.
In my opinion, the bros are like the women are very woke, trying to do the right thing, which is kind of sad. And the bros are just like hate the wokeness, but they're not willing to do the work.
Yeah. So I remember.
I think that's a little bit of a generalization, but I think it's kind of true.
I remember I had like 10 reasons when I voted for Trump, why I voted for Trump. And I don't have them written out, but I know.
Well, at least you made some reasons. At least challenge yourself.
Exactly. Like 10 reasons why I'm going to do this. And I don't remember all of them right now, but I remember they're articulate. They make sense. And I know one of them was definitely like where we're at now. With gas prices. Like if you shut down domestic product for gas.
It's true though.
And then we have in a situation like this, everything will get expensive. You know what I mean?
It's true. It's
tax cuts, all that kind of stuff.
There's some things that Trump did positively, and there's some things that Trump ran on, like getting out of the war, bringing all these massive jobs and manufacturers back that he didn't really do. Who knows? Like, again, I don't know how much power a full president has. Like, I don't know how much like chains are like, we're not going to let you bring these, like all the, like, we're not going to let you pass these. Like, I don't know how difficult it is. Like, it seems like,
I thought he was a good president. I mean, yeah, he was hold on some rhetoric. Like he said the wrong things.
The rhetoric and the tweeting is a little crazy.
The policy is
not that terrible.
The policy's
not that terrible. Yeah.
Where we were 2 years ago, we weren't in a bad spot.
I agree.
You know what I mean? We weren't in a bad spot.
I think the average American will say that.
But he's mean, you know what I mean? So if he's mean, we can't be in office.
Yeah, he's an asshole orange tangerine guy yelling.
If he's orange.
With a wig.
Exactly. I loved how bombastic he was. He just said whatever. But I think we needed that. We needed someone to yell at CNN saying fake news.
Well, of course. I mean, that's why he got voted in, because people were so sick and tired of like Obama going up here and like saying like the economy is great. Everything is good. Inflation's at 2%. Meanwhile, it's like, no, it's not. It's like, it's only going up. Debt's going up by only 1%. It's like, that's not true. These numbers are so fucking bullshit. Even now, the inflation numbers, it went from 8.5 to 8.9 or something. Dude, it's at like 16 or 17%. They're not even taking in energy and a lot of these main costs.
There's just no way you can convince me if Trump were president, we wouldn't be at least in a I mean, we'd be maybe in a bad spot, but we could be in a better spot.
I think COVID was a shit situation. Just
I think we'd be in a better spot.
Yeah,
I really think so.
I hope.
I mean, government, low involvement of government is always the best. I truly.
Yeah, and that's kind of I think where that's like the ultimate idea. That's like the ultimate like thing that we're leaning to. Libertarianism, but. You need government. You don't want to be too anarchy libertarianism, but you do.
You want government to do what's basic. Obviously, you need a society that has taxes. You need to have infrastructure. You need to put money into stuff. I'm glad that
you need police.
Exactly, you need police. I'm glad that someone could help me when I was on the side of the road that was government related. We need stuff like that.
Yes.
But when it comes to free college, free healthcare,
that's a fun
and all
line.
These crazy policies, we don't need that at all. Government. Historically speaking, the less government was involved, the more successful the country is. It's just a matter of fact.
I think this gets really complicated, but I think it's coming to a point where like our money is not sound and we're on a fiat currency and everything kind of is crumbling because our money's not, we're just printing fake money and it's not back. There's no real value to it. And we're giving like these values and we're fighting to try to make other like Saudis sell oil under the US dollar to try to keep that value. And I think like now we're getting to a point where like a lot of people are starting to realize like it's just not really sound. Our money's not real. Yeah. And it's very like there's a fine line. I don't know how long you can keep that system going. And I don't know, maybe all money's not that sound. I don't know. Maybe it's just super complicated.
I mean, when did we get off the gold standard? Was it in the 60s or 70s?
Like 70 and 71. And then
so like when I have my money in my bank account, it's digitally it says I have money, but is there really anything there?
So technically like the banks legally, so it's called fractional banking. They're legally allowed to hand out 9/10 of what you give in.
Yeah.
So that's why if everything goes bust and you and everybody in your neighborhood goes to the bank, they can all give you about 10% of what they, because they don't have it. They genuinely
that's how the Great Depression happened in 1928, where you run to the banks, take out all your money. Oh, the banks don't have any money.
But then there also is so like if you read the book Sapiens, you ever read Sapiens?
No, I know.
You should. It's fun.
Harris, right?
It's a fun book. A lot of people like hate it because it's like very mainstream. It's a very fun.
It's
book.
A history, right?
Yeah, it's like gives you a brief history of all like Homo sapien life, and it goes a little bit into the idea of credit, how like we first kind of figured out credit. And like giving someone a loan really did leverage, like you can really leverage and scale the entire world just by trusting like, hey, Jake, I trust you with your farm out back.
Yeah.
You're struggling. I got money. Here's 12 grand, right? Here's a credit worth 12 grand. You go buy a tractor. You pay me back on 1% interest.
Exactly.
Then slowly, like you slowly really do make a lot more money. You buy yourself you take a loan on a house. Then it all becomes, and we do kind of pay it. But then I think we're getting to a point where people, and also like people have to hold themselves account. Like there's cool ass shit to buy. Like people are just pissing their money away. iPhones, cars, the car speaker, and you got freaking a whole entire computer inside of your car and stuff. It's like, at what point do you not really need all of
and
these
there's
things?
Good debt and there's bad debt. So good debt is like a house, you know what I mean? And bad debt's maybe like credit card debt, you know what I mean? So it's all
credit card debt from a non-making business.
Yeah.
You can get credit card debt from an online business.
Exactly.
But you can get credit card debt from buying sneakers and clothes.
Exactly.
Like which one are you going to try to choose?
Exactly. And America kind of, I guess this goes back to what you were saying with the economy. America runs off of debt in some sense. So like if we didn't have any debt, then we'd probably have a recession. Right? We'd have a recession instantly. You know what I mean? How would the banks make money? How would the credit card companies make money? How would the other financial institutions make money?
Yeah, I think that's just why we keep going through these teeter-totterings.
Well, that's why I'm hoping that I hope this is just a cycle. You know what I mean? And usually, I remember learning in economics in college that there's 3 different kind of recessions, but I can't name them. One of them was cyclical, where it just is a cycle. One of them is, gosh, I don't even want to try it. But anyway. Anyway, I'm hoping this is just, a cycle and we'll get through it and then houses will get cheaper. Interest rates are like almost 5 or 6% where I live. How is that? You're paying for your house like 2 or 3 times if you look over 30 years.
In my opinion, though, the 2000 ever since like 2008 we kind of like been lowering interest rates to the point where like interest rates are almost like nothing.
Yeah.
You can't lend money out to people for free, right? Like the banks is a business and that's okay.
Yeah.
But let's make money though, right? We need to pay off our debts. We need to pay off these loans, these these actual loans from like that our Federal Reserve and the government takes. So like you can't buy a car on 0% interest or giving they need to pay. We're giving money out. You can't just be giving money out for free. So in my opinion, I don't think they should have ever let interest rates go below like 1%. And they did for way too long, way too long. Because it's just, and then now we're gonna have to deal with interest rates getting spiked, and then we're gonna lower them again. And then what they're gonna try to do is try to super lower them to make people spend more money. So no, just keep them at a rate so we deal with the problem that we're dealing with.
And inflation is always inevitable. But it's just, you can control it.
You can try to, if you keep the interest rates at a healthy level, you can really control it. Yeah.
But it definitely makes me, I wouldn't say I'm worried, but I just do think like, how much is a house going to cost in 20 years? Like when I'm ready to buy a house, like how am I going to be able to do it? Like my grandparents in the 1970, their house was like 40 grand or 35 grand in Allentown. They got like an acre. Now it's probably worth like 500,000. But how does it go up 450,000 in like 40 years? So in 20 years from now, is it going to be 800,000? How am I going to do it if I'm making this salary a year? So it does concern me. I wouldn't say I'm worried, but it's like, how is this really going to play itself out?
I have a weird hypothesis too. I could be off, but in my opinion, I think probably like years ago when we were really planning for people to come home from military and war, and we were really starting this housing boom of like, hey, like this American dream, hey, get a house. Family, you want a family home, you want
2 kids, a dog.
I think the average person, I think even like the infrastructure of America did not realize how expensive it is to run gas, electric, constant construction, constant maintenance. We really do have real electricity. Like we can flush our toilets. Like that's do it. Like something has to happen in the world for me to be able to flush my toilet, right? Yeah. And it's expensive and it's complicated. And I think the average person, probably when they were trying to like, hey, let's build all these houses and get people in homes, and we got to get people in homes. They don't like the long-term effect. We got to keep getting gas for the next 20 years. Hey, I'm going to die. Some guy's going to need gas for the next 100 years to this location. You have enough gas for this? It's like, well, you better make sure you have enough gas, water, all these different things.
Exactly.
So it gets expensive. Yeah. It does.
And people were independent, and they produced their own resources.
Much less.
And now we don't live in like that anymore. Like imagine if we lived in society.
We're sitting home watching TV all day.
But imagine if I learned how to farm, or I learned how to. I mean, you couldn't get your own oil, obviously. But imagine if you could do most of the stuff you could do on your own. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Cool. Hey, I'm gonna pee.
Yeah, go pee. Yeah.
Producing your own things. Yeah. Becoming dependent on your own energy sources. Like back in the day, you had your own farm. You went ahead and made your own food. You had your own car. You could know how to fix your own car. Now we're in a society where you just kind of depend on everyone else.
And you also think about like, you'd probably wear, hey, it gets a little chilly out, long sleeves, pants, put some leggings on. It's like, nope, I'm just going to turn up the heat. Boop, 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 boop. That's more gas, more electricity.
Yeah, exactly.
Like those type of things, right?
I know. When I was living here a couple years ago, my mom would literally, she'd tell me electric.
Shower for an hour. Like, what are you doing? Get out of here. I took a long shower. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I know.
Sorry, go on.
No, but you're right. You're right. Like one of my pastors was he was in like Liberia a couple weeks ago, and he was telling me how literally he was there for 2 weeks and he had no shower. He was literally washing himself with a bucket of cold water.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's how real life is.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
So we have it so easy, man.
Yeah,
we have it, unbelievably easy. I remember I went to Southeastern Europe. No, I was in Nepal. And literally, like, they don't, like, if I want a toilet, I have to have the toilet at the hotel. I'd have to, like, go use an outhouse or something if I needed to go outside of the hotel.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just a matter of, it's a matter of seeing that, because there's not a solution to it. We just have to see it and be thankful. We're so ungrateful. We think we deserve so much.
I know we are.
Like, we do not deserve, like, anything at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So. No, it's interesting. A lot of people are very ungrateful.
Yeah, it's just the good life. You know what I mean? The good life, I truly believe it's not about getting rich. I mean, that'd be cool, but it's not about getting rich. I think the chief end of man, like the main purpose we're here, is to glorify God and enjoy Him forever, to live the good life, to focus on virtue, and to use our bodies and use our minds and just, take it one day at a time.
I like that.
I think the worst thing to do is to accumulate, you know what I mean? Hoard. Take advantage.
Yeah.
I want that.
In every sense of the word.
You know what I mean? So
that's fascinating. That's very interesting.
I mean, yeah, man, like I alluded to earlier, you got one run at this life. You know what I mean? So make it count.
You saw Jordan Peterson live. How was that?
It was good. He talked about, I think it was abandoned ideology. I think he was kind of alluding to some of the stuff about what we said, where we're in this society where you're kind of told all these things. You have to come and be in this specific group of people or hold to this specific idea. And your identity is that ideology. I think he was warning us about that, and I thought it was helpful. I went a couple months ago. He's sometimes hard to listen to, just so profound.
So articulate. You really got to be like ready to go. Like,
so profound, so genius.
I know.
And you just kind of stand there and you're like, wow, that's really good. I don't understand everything you're saying, but what I am getting, it's really good and has a lot of value.
That's funny.
And I wanted to see him, I think, because I really think you and I, 50 years from now, might be looking back at him as like one of the greatest people of our generation.
And there's people that are like old, like you might as well, like he's not gonna be around forever. Like,
he's like almost, is he 60 or he's about to be 60?
Yeah, I've read his books, like I want to like see him.
He's probably gonna be dead in 30. He could be dead in 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already got health problems.
Yeah, these people are old. Yeah, the only thing that's promised is death. So you might as well go out of your way to try to meet some of the people that you aspire.
Or go see them live. You know what I mean?
Like, exactly, something like that.
Like, seriously, you could be telling your kids about him in like 50 years. You really can be. So
I think so.
I felt like, you know what? We should go. And I went with one of my friends. He invited me, and I was really glad I did.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Cool little experience.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. I still never even finished 12 Rules, I think.
Oh, you got to, bro.
Yeah, I like it. It's good, but there's a lot there.
Yeah, no, you got to be like ready to like digest it.
Yeah, a lot of things. I think the most important thing I've got from it is just, making your bed every day, being consistent, having a normal lifestyle. I know he goes to bed at the same time every day and wakes up at the same time every day. So doing that, wanting a life that's disciplined and consistent. I think, what is it? The story of Socrates in Plato's Apology? Socrates.
Expand.
Okay, so Socrates, basically he's summoned to death. He's an ancient philosopher. Plato writes about him. He's summoned to death because he was told that he was corrupting all the youth of Athens because he is the wisest man. Yeah. And he just expounds on that. And they say, you need to die because you're corrupting everyone else. You're not listening to the state. And he really was actually doing the right thing. And they sentenced him to death. And on his deathbed, he says, the unexamined life is not worth living. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's unbelievably profound. So I take that in the 21st century and I say, a life that's not, a life that you're not thinking about goals, a life that you're not thinking about structure, a life where you're not thinking about where you're trying to go, and you're just consuming, eating, whatever you want. Living life like that is not worth it.
No.
You know what I mean? It's not worth it. You know what I mean? And I'm challenged by that. And like I alluded to, I probably am the chief hypocrite. Like I'm not living a consistent life.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of reminding yourself I'm trying to get somewhere, trying to have this goal.
Yeah.
And so Socrates, that's what he stood for, the truth. He wanted to see Athens flourish. He wanted people to be, thinking on their own, challenging themselves. And he ended up dying for that. Yeah. Because they thought he was corrupting everyone.
It sounds like a lot of people end up dying for a good cause like that.
Yeah.
So it's very scary to try to chase something morally righteous like that.
Exactly. He says the unexamined life is not worth living. Peterson, he basically says the same thing, just in different language. Yeah,
I love the way Peterson like breaks down just like the conceptualization of like order and chaos and how that actually can like I compare it to almost like everything in life. You can use it for almost like an analogy for almost like everything in life, whether that's your job, your career, your business, your actual full-on lifestyle.
Well, the chaos is me driving up here and my tire is exploded. Yeah. So how am I going to solve this? I think the wrong thing to do was to sit there and yell and complain. I didn't do that, but yell and complain, this should not happen to me. Why should this happen to me?
Or even the chaos in general is you having the courage to take that drive.
Yeah.
If you're throwing yourself in the chaos happened, right? Yeah. Like your tire blew up because you're taking that drive.
Yeah, it's a risk.
It's the risk. But now you have the money, you're in line, you got the order, you come up here, your tire's better, Going to try to miss some potholes on the way down there, I guess. Maybe become more careful.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There's things you can learn from, learning from that experience.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right. It's taking that.
And it's a fine line of like walking it, teeter-tottering it. And like sometimes you kind of want to hang on one hand and like tip your toes into the chaos just to maybe get some artistic energy and maybe come back up. And
well, life is going to give you chaos. You're going to get tons of chaos.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have a lot of stuff.
Life is chaos.
It is chaos. How do you live through the chaos? You know what I mean?
You have to find the order to get through the chaos. Oh,
exactly.
Fascinating. Yeah. I have right here, brother, members of Congress beating the S&P 500. Look at these Republicans, though. Dan Crenshaw and Nancy Pelosi blowing them out of the water.
Is that the poll?
No, these are this is a chart. The S&P 500 is right here.
Okay.
This is basically what 7 or 8% on the market. These are everybody that beat and how much they beat the S&P by.
Man,
in Congress. Scumbags. Insider trading.
I do like Dan Crenshaw.
I know, I like him too, but once all that stuff came out, it's like, oh my God, they're getting rich off it.
Man.
It's like how rich do people need to be, man? It's like even like
dude, Nancy Pelosi, I bet she has like a $10 million house in San Francisco or something.
Oh, dude, she's got multiple houses, bro.
But it's just another thing where a person in public office. Yeah, I'm not saying you can't be rich, but the fact that you're getting rich off of our tax dollars is like, what kind of world are we living on?
Crazy. They're not even getting rich technically off our tax dollars. They're getting rich off our like retirements and shit. That's
AOC,
like trading.
AOC tells me how much she hates capitalism, and then she sells sweaters for $80 online. So it's a walking contradiction. So no, you actually really do like capitalism, you know?
You're living off the back of capitalism.
You know what I mean? And that's the society we live in, you know? Or you want free college, but you really don't think about what that would look like. All right, do you want to lose 30% of your check?
Who's paying for all that college?
Do you want to make, you say if you make $60,000 a year, do you realize you're going to bring home like $25,000 maybe afterwards, all that?
I know.
You mean you want free healthcare, but my friend in Canada, he has to wait 3 weeks to go get an appointment. You know what I mean? So
yeah, no, there's issues with that. Some people from England and Europe have to come to America.
That's why I was trying to say collective government is really, the government is the most inefficient thing, and it's because
that's true. I believe that's true.
Someone gave me a really helpful analogy. It's like a really big ship going down a really narrow road, and there's just no wiggle room. There's nothing you can do. I work at Amazon, and I kind of see this. Anyway, this is corporate. Well, it's just so big where things are going to be slower because it's so big naturally. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's just an example of like.
But even Amazon, they're blowing these companies out of the water. Yeah, they're blowing. So. They're more free market. Open. They're open to having people come in and say, "Hey, I'll use my card to deliver."
Yeah, and I am pro-capitalistic, but I believe there should be restrictions. There should be restraints.
There's a fine line that Amazon's becoming too strong. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. For sure. So it's like, you know what? I mean, I think we need to have caps on things. You know what I mean? Like, I think we need small businesses.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why do I have to get I have to order books or whatever I'm ordering protein powder? I order on Amazon, but what if I just went to the local, food and nutrition store or whatever?
Why don't you piece of shit?
What?
Why don't you? What the fuck?
But you do it too. I mean, we both do it. You
don't know where I get my protein, bro. No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. No, yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, you have
like the convenience is too good.
Yes,
and that's why we don't do it. And I get it.
That's capitalism, though, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, they're doing it for us.
But what's the better alternative, though? You know what I mean? I'd rather have crony capitalism, even though you can see the bad ethics of it. I'd rather have that than the alternative. The alternative is, living in a dump and, a communist society where Venezuela in the 90s, I remember talking to a missionary. He lived in Venezuela. He went out to the jungles and he preached Christ to these people who were literally living in villages. But he told me when he went to, I think the capital city is Caracas. I don't know how to pronounce it. In South America, it was the most wealthy city. They had the prime hospitals. They had the best American corporations there. Now it's all the opposite. It's poverty. Yeah. All the grocery stores are empty because of these government collective policies. Yes. Where everyone, they started inflating the dollar.
And you're also like, at the end of the day, man, like there's only so much help there's people that are going to live their entire life poor on drugs, eating shitty food, doing nothing with their life. And at some point, like, you can't take my money and just give it to them. Like, it just doesn't. Like, I know people that don't do nothing with their life. It's like, I'm sitting here recording I bought all this shit. I work 6 days. It's like, I'm supposed to grind, get a business, make money off of this stuff, and then give it to you for, like, no, go fuck yourself. Like, that's asinine. That's ridiculous. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you really need men to start standing up against this shit. Everyone's trying to take our fucking money. You're not taking my money. No, just kidding. But yeah, no, it is fascinating because you had Godsod go on Joe Rogan the other day, and he wrote a book, and he was saying in Canada he gave basically 58% of the proceeds to the Canadian government, 55% in tax, and then a bunch
Canada is led by psychopaths.
Yeah, exactly. Like, at what point, like, this guy wrote a book, went out to publish it. You took 60% of what this guy made.
That's it. That's immoral.
That's immoral. I know. Like, at what point, like, you don't deserve 60%, you motherfuckers.
And then
like,
they're not going to use the money the right way.
No, it's going to get lost.
And then give it a woke step.
I think because I think they have a tax day, right? You have a national tax day where the IRS can go through your taxes and you have to file for how much you made and you show everything. Or this is all my money. Here it is. Blah, blah, blah. Right? But when we give our taxes in, there's no day where a mayor or a governor comes out like, this is how much money we got from you. This is where it went. This is where it is. This is how it's being spent. And this is where it's being spent and utilized currently. No one's being held accountable. Where's my money? You just take it and just go. See ya.
Exactly.
Egypt. Here's $70 million for gender camel research. What the fuck? I just made that up.
No, but
we do
happening.
give this. Yes, I know.
$40 billion to Ukraine. All right, so this is it. I was telling my wife this. Like, we literally just had a situation where the last 2 years they've been complaining about student loan debt and how they want to solve it. I personally don't think you can solve it through government policy. However, they're trying to do that. They go ahead and give Ukraine $40 billion. And if you're giving Ukraine $40 billion, even if it's in the form of a loan, they're not going to pay it back. Yes, you know what I mean? They can't. Look at their infrastructure. It's been destroyed, you know? But the hypocrisy, it's just the hypocrisy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you tell me how many problems you want to solve here, which is great, but we should be pro-American first. You know, I'm pro helping people out. But if you really want these policies to go forward and you really believe what you're saying, you actually go ahead and try to do that when you're not trying to go ahead and do it.
200,000 homeless people in Los Angeles.
I have the book. The guy was on Rogan. Schellenberger?
Schellenberger was on a few times.
I got his book for Christmas. I didn't read it yet.
In my opinion, like, this most recent thing, like, the guy knows what he's talking about. I think he's a nice guy. I don't think his policy is going to work. At the end of the day, he's going to take U.S. tax money and give it to programs that are going to monitor people that are crazy and on drugs. Bro, like, that's not where these people are out of their mind. They're smoking crack and shooting up heroin. That's the reality. And he did admit that, like, these people aren't, like, you know, you hear a liberal ideology of, like, oh, well, the average homeless person's, like, down on their luck and they got it's like, no. They got kicked out of multiple homes. They stole from their friends. They're addicted to drugs, and they're probably mentally ill.
How many couches were there on at their house?
Yes,
like,
and that's the reality. That's the reality of the situation, right?
And now I think 99.9% of the chances, the 99.9% of the times people are homeless is that. Yeah. Maybe there's one.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly, for sure. But for the most part, that is the case. Yeah. And again, I believe, and I don't want to make it a political thing, but I really think the Democratic Party does not understand.
Oh no, they do.
Human nature.
I think they do. I think they do. I think they just want the votes.
I don't think so, man. They think we're inherently good.
I think they want the votes, man. I don't think they give a fuck. I think they'll let any immigrant, let anybody out of prison, give them the vote. I want them to vote for me. It's which psychotic. Is insane. It's terrible. That's my honest opinion. You know what I mean? It's terrible.
Well, what is it? Well, no, that's not relevant anyway. But I was gonna say something.
I say, hey, public housing, welfare. Yeah. Hey, we gave it to you. Vote for me. It's what the fuck.
But you're not really accounting for human nature. I know. Is what I'm trying to stress. Because I believe, you know, people end up homeless because of the reasons you're saying, and they will not will themselves to change.
Some can.
Some can, but you can't just don't.
Give them money. And
that's the problem. You can't just,
they have to will
here's
$500. They have to will themselves to change. You can't be like, it's okay, my name's Jake. You done smoking crack? It's like, no, Jake, get the fuck out of here. He's smoking. It's like, all right, I'll be back next week. It's like, what is that to do? Like, what?
I know. So, like, for me, if I see a homeless person, I won't give them cash, but I'll go take you in this restaurant. I'll get what you want. I'll pay.
Sometimes they don't even want that.
I've had it happen.
Yeah.
I'll go buy you a $15-$20 meal. I'll get takeout for you right here. I'll do it for you, bro.
Yeah.
I'm all right.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll get you. I'll pay
it's
for
priorities.
it. I'm gonna pay for it.
It's priorities.
Take it.
They'd rather be on the streets high than in a house and eating food. And there is an argument. At what point, like, I'm not gonna be smoking crack and doing that because I know that could happen. And I know there's a lot of people that say, like, again, there's a whole argument about what is addiction, how does addiction form. I read from the professor, Dr. Carl Hart. He tends not to believe the idea of it's genetic, it's a disease. It's like, no, you live in a shitty neighborhood, you're poor as fuck, your parents are fucked up. Yeah, you're probably gonna end up smoking crack or doing some terrible drugs.
Well, you're influenced by those who are around you.
Of course, you're around people that are doing drugs. Yeah,
but that's why, like, most people who come from divorced parents don't have good marriages because, you know what I mean. They only saw that.
Yeah, I mean, I reposted the thing Jordan Peterson did yesterday about children that come from a single family, parent family. They're much more likely to be less educated, poverty, not married, in jail, killed at a younger age. It's like these are real problems. You need a mother and a father. You need two parents to take care of you and to nurture you and love you and to discipline you as well. And
discipline is really important.
Discipline's huge.
So important.
We're losing discipline.
I was just given a lot of
taking
things,
the men out of the house, and these men and these people, women and men, children, are losing their discipline.
Exactly.
And I do agree with the idea that mass incarceration was a racially motivated thing, and they went after the black male and they stripped them out of the house. That is what happened, right? I don't know. I don't know if you can blame all white people for, like, I didn't really have anything to do with that. I agree that happened when they changed. And Joe Biden wrote these laws about changing the crack compared to cocaine, and more affluent people are going to do cocaine and poor people are going to do crack. Cool. And you lock them up for 10 times the amount of the thing. Yeah. And now it's
what you said about mass incarceration. Yeah, that's from the book, The New Jim Crow. I read some of it. I didn't really agree with everything, but anyway. But anyway, I read some of that book. And they do argue that their thesis is that the reason why we are where we are now is because we were supposedly mass incarcerating all these blacks and Latino people and all that. And I'm sure that did happen. Yeah.
And I don't agree with locking people up for drugs.
But the biggest issue I had with the book, from what I read with it, is that they just make it so partisan and they make it the fault of the conservatives in 21st century. And they're doing that. And this book was written like a couple years ago. And that's wrong because both parties were participating in that. I
agree.
You know what I mean?
100%.
And that's 100%. So that's the thing, is the antidotes. Yes. The reason they're trying to fix this, theories they propose are wrong.
This liberal kind of Democrat agenda, I think.
Exactly.
Pushing this Democrat
so you make
agenda.
it partisan when, that did happen. You know what I mean? If you got pulled over in, the 80s or 70s, years ago, 60s, whatever it is.
Even in the 90s and 2000s and
you get pulled over
and stuff like that.
And it's unfortunate. I think a lot of it's anecdotal, but it did happen. You know what I mean?
I don't think it's anecdotal, honestly. When you can watch live PD now. They're just arresting people for drugs for the most part. Like they pull someone over and maybe they're driving weird or they have like a headlight out or something.
Well, I was saying
heroin. It's like even like heroin. Like should you go to jail? Should you go to jail and be incarcerated for wanting to shoot up heroin? Like I guess that's a philosophical question you can go down, but
that's a question of what is justice. We can get into that in a second. Yeah. But anyway, I was mainly saying that I think what she posited in the book was that mass incarceration was based off of race. So the war on drugs was a racial thing. That's what she argued for. When I don't really agree with that.
I do. That was her argument. I do agree with that. Okay. I do.
Now, because I think you can't just, my reason is because you can't just posit. Now, mass incarceration on drugs, I think it's a bad thing, like you said. I think we're in agreement with that. But you can't just assume, like, okay, they're pulling this person over because he's black. There's no pretext. There's no actual rational reason why you would think that. Why can't it just be because the person had drugs?
You have to fill the prisons up.
So that's what I was trying to say. Thing. And the prisons make money.
The prisons make money. That's the goal. So you have to keep a prison at least like 98% capacity to make money. So then you have to strict the laws. Okay, we know we can get black people because they're less educated, they're less assets, they have less money for a lawyer. So then we're going to go into these neighborhoods, we're going to strict the laws, because they're going to be more likely to have the drugs on them, especially crack. So then we're gonna make it more illegal, 10 times stronger laws to lock people up for crack, which is going to be black people. Then you have the 3 strikes law, right? You get a felony. Marijuana could have been a felony. You get 3 felonies, boom, 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 go to life sentence. So then, and then no parole or anything like that. So in my opinion,
Dr. Umar Johnson. I think he's an interesting character. I don't know how much of him is like actually like acting.
Never heard of him.
He's very like anti-white and shit, but he's still fascinating. I think he's very funny.
So it's even if those things are true, and maybe they are. You know what I mean? Like it's objective that. People were arrested because of their skin color and all that with drugs and all that. And then if you do follow the chain, I see what you're saying. That makes a lot of sense, But when
I think every cop is racist. It's like, no, the system is, it was kind of like a system where it's like, hey, you have drugs on you, I have to arrest you. Mm-hmm. It's what it is. Yeah, sure, some cops like the rest.
It seems like we're getting looser with stuff with regards to drugs. I mean, it seems like that.
In certain states.
Like, for instance, in Georgia, I almost actually became a cop this year. It was crazy. Almost did.
Cool. My friend became a Trenton police officer.
That's amazing. Yeah, almost
crazy.
did.
It's scary, but...
Almost did, but it is scary. Almost did, but the guy was like, you know what? I cannot tell most of the time who's driving the car in front of me if he's black or white, just by the angle of where the car is.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just get so concerned
then you can
when we start talking about, but I get so concerned when we just start assuming things are racially motivated.
Oh, you know well, yes.
So like what you're saying.
Even police shootings, like, oh, he shot him because he's black. It's like, I mean,
but
scary situation.
Yeah, what you assume, and it's true, and it probably is true about, things being, the war on drugs, maybe it's mostly to do with, race, and this color community has, drugs in their areas.
I don't even know if the war on drugs was about race. I think the war on drugs. Yeah, you can make that.
The new
argument.
Jim Crow is like a big popular book. A lot of people our age read.
Yeah,
and it argues that the war on drugs is racially motivated.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, that's the main argument. I don't know if the war on drugs is a byproduct, and then they also were influenced. Like, hey, we're doing the war on drugs, but we're also gonna make this stricter, easier to lock up uneducated, poor people.
Yeah, so you think it's that intentional? Like, we want, like, people in the government are saying, you know what, we need this many people in the prisons to make this.
I do also believe that people did believe. I don't think people in government are as smart as sometimes people give them credit for.
Yeah.
I do believe that they swear that when people smoke crack or do drugs, they're a million times stronger and they can beat up police officers and they're raping white women. And that was like kind of like the narrative. Like, these guys are smoking crack and doing drugs and coming into our neighborhoods and robbing things and doing shit, and we got to stop it. And it's like, yeah, sure, like anecdotally that probably did happen. And those are like the majority of people that are committing crimes, maybe are mentally ill or on drugs or intoxicated. But I think, I don't know. I don't know how much it was fully intentional. Yeah, but then
motives are the hardest things to prove. That's what I'm trying to say.
It could be that there's a lot of crime that was going on. We didn't have obviously not a lot of cameras back then in the 70s, 80s, right? And you're like, I don't know what to do except make it really strict for people, thinking that's what's going to fix society.
Yeah,
and a lot of people argue that making laws stricter lowered crime by a huge amount. You could maybe argue that. I don't know. I'm open for that argument.
Yeah.
I just don't agree that someone with a little bit of drugs on them is a criminal. That's just I tend to really believe that.
Yeah. So like you mentioned how like maybe the court or the justice system should maybe handle it not in the way they do with the prisons. So justice should be more of a thing where it's about replenishing and rejuvenating the person as opposed to like strict, harsh penalty.
And if you watch Jail, dude, like...
So which side would you lean more towards then? Like that justice should be more, we're going to make you a better person, or you should just experience the wrath of this penalty. Like, which side would you lean more towards? Because that's a really big
It depends what justice is, right?
Justice, historically, the philosopher said that justice is to render each his own due.
Yeah, I would probably say I would say almost like I'd probably be more, I guess, conservative and masculine with it. I think people, like almost, I don't want to say an eye for an eye. But like, dude, this kid that shot up the fucking Buffalo thing. Yeah. At what point do we fucking hang this kid on national television? I'm not saying that's the goal, right? But at what point, like, hey, you can't shoot up fucking malls and you can't go to movie theaters and shoot people up. You can't fucking do that. Like in America, like we have to make a stand. I also understand like you can't just fucking hang people. It's not 1700s. Yeah. Stone him, everybody throw stones at him and shit. I don't know. I know.
I mean, death penalty. I wrote a paper in college how like I think the death penalty is a good thing. You know what I mean?
And then there's an argument like I understand like why, and I've listened to people like there's a lot of people wrongfully convicted, so it's easier to just get rid of the death penalty and just let people sit in prison for the rest of their life instead of even wasting money to try to fight for death penalty. That makes sense. I think that's a valuable kind of argument.
If you are a criminal though, not necessarily a drug addict, but if you are obviously a really messed up person, you should be contained. You should not be allowed to go into the public sphere.
I 100% agree. Like we can't let.
I think you deserve to live, but maybe. Yeah. I mean, if you shot someone up, I mean, I think you should die.
Yeah, if you like this kid, like there's a philosophical argument. Like, does this kid deserve to live? That shot up a thing, and he thinks white race is falling and all.
I mean, I would say probably not. Like, I think that my worldview with believing in Scripture would even say like. And Romans in Paul's epistle, yes, eye for an eye in the Old Testament, but Paul says in the New Testament, the government is given. God gives the government the sword to execute justice. So I mean, it says sword. Romans 13 says it. Yeah. So I mean, I think that you have the authority to. And he uses the word sword. So
it's an interesting. It almost is like a philosophical question. Like
I think it is. I think most things are. Yeah. I think most things are
very gray.
Philosophical, religious questions. I think at our very being as human beings, we are philosophical, religious creatures. So
I agree.
And we don't want to think about that because we don't want to think about mortality. So many people are hedonists where they just want to accumulate every pleasure they can.
Hedonists.
I want to sleep with this person. I want to do this drug. I want to do this, and that.
Taste this drink. It's so sweet.
I know, but containment is a really good thing. You know what I mean?
2 seconds, yeah.
But saying no to things is a really good thing. You know what I mean? Discipline's a good thing.
100%.
You gotta. There's a certain way we should live. You know what I mean? There's a reason why we have laws. There's a reason why we have morality. You know what I mean? Because there's a certain way we need to live.
Values offer something to your life. Yeah.
There's a way we should live. So.
The war on drugs. It's very fast. I'd love to have those guys on my podcast eventually. Like, just talk to them.
Yeah.
And then there's people that are like, Dr. Drew, who would kind of like produce the 16 and Pregnant out of.
Never heard of it.
You ever showed like the MTV show 16 and Pregnant?
No, never heard
like
of it.
16-year-old become, and it's just like a shit show.
Yeah.
And he says the show basically reduces teen pregnancy because people realize how much of a shit show their life is, and they're like, I don't want that shit.
I argued in my paper for death penalty. We should have death penalty because you know what? People will be less prone to murder someone if they know they're going to get murdered. You know what I mean? So put that in the back of their mind.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Like, and then, so there's, I know. No, it's interesting.
So every 30 minutes you have to hit that?
Yeah, every 30 minutes you just reset it. But it's pretty good to edit, so it's not too bad.
Yeah.
The hedonistic lifestyle. Very interesting.
Well, it's just not, there even in ancient philosophy, I think it was called the Epicureans. They were a group of people who, because a lot of people don't understand, like a lot of stuff we do now, all has ancient roots. You know what I mean? So, like, I think Gadsad was just saying, is that how you say Godsad?
Godsad.
He was literally just talking about Marcus Aurelius.
Yep.
And I saw that part where a lot of the stuff we do today, we've already wrestled with this 2,000 years ago.
Yes.
So the Epicureans believe that we need to have as much pleasure as we possibly can. And then the Stoics, who I kind of like, they said, no, we need to have a disciplined life. We need to have structure. We need to be able to say no to things. There should be a way we should live. You know what I mean? And I believe that the Stoics are probably more right than the Epicureans.
Yes, probably.
Because there's a way we should, live our life. You know what I mean? There's a reason why, anyway, there's a reason for everything.
No, it's interesting. It's interesting.
But it's good because I think that the life that doesn't have no, if you don't ever get told no, you will become a crazy madman. And I really think so.
What do you mean if you
the full extent of that? If you're never told no for anything, and then you're an adult and you're told, you can't have this, you just start expecting things.
Yeah.
You start consuming things. And
it's an ego trip.
It's an ego trip.
It's an ego trip.
It is.
It's a battle with the old ego.
Exactly.
Back at it again. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do lean with the war on drugs. I love talking about that.
I wish I knew enough to talk to you about it.
I do. And then what was the one book that I have?
All I've read is a little bit of the new Jim Crow. And that's it.
So yeah,
I mean, I don't have much to probably contribute to the conversation. But
you should check out even Rogan's podcast, Dr. Carl Hart. He's a professor from.
I think he listens to one a couple years ago.
Yeah, he's the guy he was like openly does heroin.
Yeah, I remember that guy.
That was like the whole thing.
He's got dreads?
Yeah, he's got dreads, and he talks about like the stigma of being like a black professor with dreads that's open about doing drugs.
We can talk about drugs.
Yeah.
I know we talked about psychedelics.
So let me see. Oh, I was gonna say that I also since I seen you, I read some Thomas Sowell.
Is it? I don't know if it's
Sowell or Soul. I kind of say Soul, but someone
I have some of his
Sowell,
books. My wife loves him. I haven't really dug into him.
I read one of his, and then I got a few.
Which one did you read?
I read Discrimination and Disparities.
I have that book.
Yeah, and then I have Black Rednecks and White Liberals.
Okay,
it's an interesting title. I don't know.
He gets into the nitty gritty things. I remember, I didn't read it, but I know he talks about just like spending habits of certain races of people. That's not based on where they are, but just how they work.
Well, he's an economist.
And then there's like roots to
why are those spending habits coming from those exact places?
Exactly.
And then those roots come from another place, and then from another.
But people don't think like that.
Oh,
that's why I'm so thankful for him. You know what I mean?
No.
I remember he said something like, there's a specific group of people in Tennessee, they thought like this, and then their ancestors lived in Scotland and they had the same mindset. They brought it from Europe.
That was the big thing. Is like, it's fascinating. He was breaking down how in like the 40s, I think a lot of Southern uneducated blacks mass migrated. It was like a known thing. They mass migrated to a lot of these like cities, these urban societies. So like San Francisco, New York, New Jersey, and Chicago areas. From the South, but they were living with the rednecks, the actual crackers from Scotland and Wales and the outskirts of England, where they were really redneck and rough and poor and so stupid.
Bumpkins.
So then they learned that lifestyle, and then they were already so like blacks and other people of color living in these like affluent societies, and they were already mass emigrating, and they were like perfectly like living together. And then there was just too many different cultures that moved up at once to the point where they kind of just separated. And then like a lot of like, then you can also go into the how like public housing. And then that was on like the 40s and the 50s, and then again in the 70s is when we got off the gold standard. They started changing all these laws. Dr. Umar Johnson says, I think in the 70s is when the castration of the black male starts. That's what he says. The financial castration of the black male. He rants and raves, but I would love to talk to him. I would love to.
He's like 92. He's still alive, educated. Man. He's brilliant,
Thomas
man.
Sowell. Thomas Sowell's fascinating. But I would love to. But he lives out in like Stanford. He lives Hoover Institute, I think, is part of Stanford. So that's,
it is. Yeah,
that's West Coast.
I want to. You're challenging me. I have that book. It's on my shelf for a while.
Should. It's
and awesome. I have his basic economics or something like that.
That would be a great book.
Okay. Anyway, I want to ask you a couple more things. One more thing.
Go on.
I mean, this is your podcast.
Go on.
I want to continue the conversation about. I want to continue the conversation about God. If you want to talk, if you're cool. I mean, this is your podcast.
Let's go. Let's go.
I think last time we talked about psychedelics and God. And I just want to know like where you're at. Like, what are you thinking through? Do you feel like you've been challenged by reading The Reason for God? What kind of holds you back, I guess, from embracing a faith? I don't know. I just want to hear where you're at, I guess.
I'll say this.
Yeah.
I 100% believe in a higher power and a higher being. I don't associate with a faith, as in like a Christianity, a Muslim, a Catholic.
Yeah,
I think they all have pretty good values. I think Christianity, it could be, and it could just be from where we're from. I think Christianity seems a little bit more probably sound and normal for me. That could just because I'm in an English white speaking world, and my parents have passed down from kind of like Irish immigrants type of thing. So that could very much be the case. But I don't believe the idea of like. I genuinely don't really like, and I believe the idea of like Jesus Christ is God.
You don't like that idea?
No.
Okay.
No, and like the idea of like everything is for like when people say like Christ, I don't know like because like I don't know if number one I don't know if Jesus Christ is a real person.
Okay.
I'm starting to lean with he probably was a real person, but I think he was kind of made into like a legend, like a mythological legend, and probably he was used as a legend by like the Romans and the Greeks to probably sell this like imaginary type, this beautiful like kind of utopian like magician almost to the people for their own power.
So it sounds too good to be true?
I think so. I think if I'm being rational with myself...
You got to be honest with yourself.
Yeah, if I'm being rational with myself... Because I do believe there's a higher power. I do believe there's rights and wrongs, like this idea of consciousness. But I don't associate...
Absolute truth.
Yeah, but I don't associate that with Jesus Christ. Okay. And the same thing with like the Quran associates with kind of with the Prophet of Muhammad coming down and doing his things. That could be a story of someone... A good guy doing something really righteous and awesome, and then they kind of took him and like, all right, let's make a movie version out of him like give ourselves power and things like that.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate. I mean, that's just good. You got to be honest with yourself. Yeah. It's good to know what you believe.
And again, I disagree. I don't know the Bible that like I never read the Bible, and I got to hold myself accountable. I never read the Quran, so I don't really know some of these intricate stories and how much of the historical context of each story, and like that's really like hard work to do.
Yeah. Well, let me say this. Like, I disagree with you. I'm encouraged that you think on your own, and you come to your own conclusions. That's so important. Most people don't do that. Like me, I believe there's lots of reasons for it. And I think we talked about some of this, but I mean, so for instance, the Western civilization, think of like all the books we have. Like we have, the Odyssey, we have, all the philosophers I'm quoting. Throughout for thousands of years, it's been monks. It's been Christian people who have been preserving this literature. So they've been preserving literature that's actually contradictory to what the Christian message is. So the Christian message, I shared this last time, Christ. I mean, you probably know it for the most part, but, Christ lives this perfect life, sinful life. Christ is fully man, fully God. He lives a perfect life. He goes and dies on the cross. So what Christ did on the cross was that he takes human sin. He takes our fundamental problem, since that fall of Adam and Eve, we've been separated from God. So Christ dying on the cross purges us of the iniquity so that one day we'll be in heaven with him. And that's what we believe. And then he confirms that by his resurrection. And that's what I believe to be the truth. I think it's the most convincing.
But couldn't it be possible that he was persecuted by the Jews and he was genuinely crucifixed on the cross, hung there, suffered for 3 days. They thought he died, and like on the third day, like, like holy shit, this motherfucker's alive. No, right? Like that is like somewhat.
It's actually, I don't think it's reasonable. Okay, I don't think it's reasonable because and someone did a test on this. There's a guy named Lee Strobel. He wrote a book, The Case for Christ. Okay, and he did this study. Could he have lived? And this is what the Muslims believe. They believe that Christ actually didn't die on the cross. And someone did a study of Roman history. Think of how you've watched, what is it, Gladiator? You know how those Romans treated people. Yeah, there's no way you would have survived 3 days on there. Like your lungs, you would suffocate within hours. There's just no way. Yeah, and you got to nail through both of your feet. Yeah. So what you're saying is believed by people. Muslims believe it, but with Roman history, there's just no way that he wouldn't have died.
But there is like you could there's also no way. But you could also say like he died within a day, and they stretched it out for 3 days for ritualistic periods. He died on certain things.
He would have died. He did die, I believe, in the afternoon on that Friday or whatever it was, the 3 day period. And like, what are you trying to say?
The idea of resurrection. Maybe he did die on the cross, but the idea of resurrection isn't the idea that he rose. Maybe the people finally had the courage to rise against or to stand up for someone to actually.
Back from why does it have to be a metaphorical?
Because I just don't. It's just too good to be true.
Well, I know, but think about this,
right? Bro. Like at what point is like you do have to challenge yourself. Like I have to like this guy's gonna sell me snake oil on the street. It's like fuck. I believe Jesus did this. This guy could be fucking
I see what you're saying.
These rationals.
You have to do that. Yeah. But think about this.
Hey, I can turn this shit to gold, man. It's like, oh shit.
If we can believe, if you and I are believing right now that chance created the world or whatever it is.
Yes, that's a great argument.
But so if we can believe that that's not true, why can't I believe that Christ resurrected from the dead?
For sure.
And he talked about miracles in Tim Keller in that book. Yeah. So I have no reason to not believe it. The Gospels are consistent. The 4 Gospels are consistent that he died and rose from the dead. And I really believe that happened. And I have to believe that. My faith is dependent on it. And if I found out 100% it wasn't true, I wouldn't believe the gospel. I would quit Christianity.
It would be an interesting thing,
But it has to be true because the Gospels are saying the same thing. And obviously, I think I said this last time, everything has faith related to it. But I think that this is a position and a religion that has the most to believe. It gives the most you can believe. And I have to believe that with the data there, that it really did happen. And my faith is dependent on that. And I don't think we should just assume things are metaphorical. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, why does it have to be metaphorical? Okay. Why can't it be true?
I know what you mean.
Like, what is a miracle? Why can't a miracle be true?
Yeah.
It's because we live in this world where we believe reason is God, really. Well, we don't believe that anymore. But I think in the Enlightenment times, we believe that reason was God. Yeah. So reason has to prove everything. And this is obviously not reasonable. But there's something beyond us in the human heart. There's something we want so much more. You and I have longings that we'll never get or anything. Yeah. And I believe that God is the end of that. Christ is the end of that. Like
I believe that God, like the terminology of God is like what you're explaining, but then throwing Christ there for me conflates it.
I know,
because then it's like hey, I'm with these guys, and then the Muslims are like, fuck you, bro, I'm over here. And then like the Jews are like, well, I kind of like know your story, but I'm fully believe it. And then there's like all these different like characters, and there's
So let me say this, right? So with the historical Jesus, I've heard Dawkins say on Rogan once, there's no proof, there's no history.
No, Dawkins says
did he come around to that?
Yeah, Dawkins.
He used to say it wasn't.
Well, Dawkins says he thinks that he's not religious, but he thinks from the people that he spoke to, Jesus was probably a real person.
Okay,
that's what he said.
Let me say this though. So I'm reading this guy. I brought it, the Four Gospels. It's a book on the Four Gospels, and Tacitus. He's a Roman historian, and he works for Emperor Nero. And this is in the 60s. He's writing about how they're going to persecute the Christians. And he calls the Christians Christianus or something like that. There's some Latin root for it. But anyway, he's writing, and this is a primary source we have. He's writing that these people are believing this myth. He'll call it a myth. He'll call it a contagious superstition or something like that. And that they're believing this blindly. And they're believing that Christ resurrected from the dead. And they're talking about something in the first century, about a first century man. And then we have another guy named Pliny the Younger, who was a historian for, I think it was, what was his name? It starts with a T. It's another Roman emperor like 50 years later after Nero. And he's writing about Christians too. So basically you have these historical sources at the time the Bible is being written as well that are saying the same thing. Maybe not word for word with like all of every little detail, but it's saying the same narrative that he actually died and was resurrected. That are not biblical sources that are confirming it. So that's why when someone says like, I can't believe in historical Jesus, I don't really think there's no basis for that. You have to believe in a historical Jesus. And so gets to my point. If we can believe that the sources are saying the same things about him, why can't we believe the Bible? That the Bible in all that it says about the miracles and all his wonderful teachings.
The problem is though, a lot of those sources were taken at least 20 to 50 years. Even the Roman sources.
But it would have taken 20 to 50.
It could have, but a myth and a story could easily, like how quickly does telephone happen? Whether someone between you and someone else, and like within 2 seconds.
Sure, but how long
did you get that message, bro? I just told you something different.
I understand it, but how long did it take Homer to write the Odyssey? It probably took like 50 years to write. You're literally writing on papyri. You know what I mean? You're not. Also, how many people are educated? How many?
Yes.
So you have to take in all these factors. I just don't think that works. Also, you were living in a time where it was probably I don't know how you put it, like a society where it's just spoken word. There's not much written things. 2% of the people are educated.
Yeah.
So with all those things, those are good questions.
Those are good, somewhat good answers. Yeah.
And that's where it comes, I think the data really is there to believe it. It's true. And also like, I think if you can believe that the Bible's reliable, and I believe it is, I think the Four Gospels are reliable. I think those are fair reasons I shared with other sources, Roman historians confirming it. Also Josephus, Jewish historian, I mentioned him last time. He said Jesus was a real person. So that's 3 people who were living at the same time. There's no way it's not true. At least
Josephus was like 50 years out. He wasn't living in this. Well, it's 50 years after Jesus died.
So Jesus must have died. Yeah. So 30 AD or 30 to 40 AD, Jesus would have died. Josephus wrote during the fall of Jerusalem, which would have been 72 AD, I think, or 82 AD. Yeah. So it would have been some time after, but he's telling you about what those Christians are doing.
Yes.
And then what those Christians are believing.
Yeah.
So, I think there's enough historical information to believe it.
It's interesting.
And I think the Bible,
Now, let me ask you this.
Ask me it.
If there's a fucking time machine right here, and it's like you have one shot, 15 minutes, or maybe like an hour you get to walk around.
Yeah.
What time? You going to Jesus? You're going to see if Jesus is real? Or you're going to go see a dinosaur or something else?
I mean, bro, I think I know he's real.
Oh, you're going to pick a different time period?
I mean, I don't know how to answer that question. I really don't know how to answer that. I just think that there's enough there to believe it. And that would be cool to walk amongst Christ.
Yeah.
Because we believe, if we believe God took on flesh. Like, that's a crazy thing to believe, man.
Yeah.
You realize it is? Most people our age do not hold this view. But I think that it answers the problem of the world. I think it is the thing that everyone's heart is longing for is Christ.
And that
I think for even you, I'm trying to.
I don't know about
here,
not Christ, but
no, it's Christ. It's Christ.
No, it's God. I don't know.
God, we believe God and Christ are the same thing. So Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
But I don't believe that. Right.
But what's your data based off? So like I'm believing what I'm believing based off of Scripture. So we believe Scripture is the highest authority. So like Scripture is saying, Scripture is reliable.
But I know firsthand
what I'm seeing
that humans lie. You can watch the news. You can watch humans lie.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's like at some point I have to be 100% skeptical and honest of myself.
I understand that
barrier, just like pure circle, 360 circle of questions.
Okay,
where it's like there is no answer.
You and I would get nowhere if we just assume that everything's a lie. There was a time where I was like telling myself a couple years ago, why should I believe that this event in 1000 happened? Like I wasn't there.
I don't think everything is a lie. I don't know if
everything can be
lie.
conflated. You know what I mean?
Not everything. I don't want to say everything can be conflated. I'll say, how do I want to terminize this? I say that humans forever have the natural ability to deceive, to manipulate, or to even find or use good things for deception or manipulation or power. And not always that to get that power is bad or that it's all out of horrible, conspiratorial, like terrible things. Sure. But at the end of the day, I do believe that humans have the power to influence. Yeah, full-on influence.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But I think that a manipulation of something doesn't mean that the object of what that is wrong. You know what I mean? So like that's the thing. That's like the big thing. You know what I mean? So like Christians, there's lots of debate about the Crusades, like because they went through in the Middle Ages. A lot of Christians went from Europe and they like raided all these towns on the way down there and all that. And there's different takes on that, and that was wrong for the Christians to kill villages and stuff like that. I don't want to speak on something I'm not aware of, but I know there's a lot of debate about how we treated people.
Yes.
But it doesn't make what they believe to be false because they're doing this. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes. But that was also human nature that you can be as Christian as you want. You're still going to go rape and pillage if that's the time period.
And then we would believe that God would hold that person accountable.
Yes,
and they would,
and that makes sense.
They'd go to hell.
Yeah. But sit down there.
But I think that. We're religious people, and I love talking about this.
Yeah, no, that's well. I think if I'm being honest, though, I think that the idea of Christ being or Christ and your God is, I genuinely believe it does help life. It helps your life. So you find value in it. I think most people, you're right, are longing for this form of like high power, something to genuinely hold you accountable. That's not yourself. That's not your parents. That's not your mom. And maybe deep down it is yourself, but you have to give it that power, right? Yeah. I just get conflated to the point of like intellectually, I believe that, and I think that's true. But also intellectually, I'm at a point of like, I just don't know if I believe the real historical context and the narrative behind Jesus as a historical figure.
Is that because
also the institution of the Christian faith and how it was a government, right?
Yeah.
Christianity, and you do need government. I 100% agree, but we also can agree big government can also and usually does equal big problems. Yeah, but you do need it. So there's that order and chaos of like, hey. Religion's the first form of government and you need government and religion's pretty good for you. That's good. And then it gets conflated, right? Yeah. With, trying to fight for that power and fight for that story. And that narrative.
And, it does, I would say it helps my life, but I don't really look at it like that. It actually is my life. Like my faith is, I view my entire life through my faith. So like if I have an issue, I pray about it. If I have a worry, I pray about it. And in Scripture, we're called to love the Lord our God with our heart, soul, strength, and mind, and then to love our neighbor as ourselves. So I look at life through those lenses. I try to. I pray.
That's very nice, dude. That's like positive as fuck.
And like I don't. And Saint Augustine, he was a famous philosopher, theologian. You probably have heard of him.
Yeah.
He believed that we're really made for another world. So I'm living this life as I'm pilgriming to the next world.
It's very fascinating.
So that's what I'm trying to do.
Very fascinating.
I think that I'm so convinced of it that I want to give everything I have towards it. And I want to try to talk to people like you about it and try to, I want you to believe it.
You should talk to my friend Jan. My friend Jan would have to have a nice conversation with you.
And
that'd be very interesting, man.
And maybe we can get us all on this.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think there's enough there, and I want you to believe it. I genuinely want you to believe it, and I think there's reasons to believe it. But I can't. You can't make someone believe anything.
Yes.
You know? And like, it's my life. You know what I mean, I have so much. I think I'm the happiest person in the world because, from my perspective, I believe it to be true. God has saved me. Like my greatest problem is my fallen nature from Adam and Eve. And I want to give you all that I have.
Have you ever have you ever met so there's a guy, I deliver pizza to this guy. Works at like the church and shit. I go in there and he's like, realistically, he is a very creepy dude. Yeah. He like looks at you like straight in the eyes like, God loves you, man. There's something about like, Jesus is real and Jesus loves you. Yeah. And it's just like, dude, like I'm just trying to give you pizza, bro. Yeah. Like that just like.
And I'm not trying to ever.
No, I know. You're not that guy, but that guy creeps me out. Yeah. It turns me off, man.
I get it. That's really weird.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to. How can I practically live my Christian life without? Because I got cousins who hate what I believe. You know what I mean? So I want to
believe Jake, the freaking God lover, tree hugger.
I know, but you're right. I mean, someone in high school was like, "You hate gays," and I never said that in my life.
Yeah,
I never have I ever.
That's unfair that they.
I've never ever said anything like that in my life. You know, so but it's stuff like I just want to practically live my life for God's glory, and I want to look. This is the only way I think life needs to be lived. I really believe that.
Interesting.
And then, because like, all right, we kind of talked about desire a little bit, like the longing of the heart. God, I would believe, is the answer to that. The greatest thing that can make you... Okay, sorry, I'm a little scatterbrained.
It's good.
Anselm of Canterbury. He was a famous middle-aged philosopher.
Okay.
He says that God is the most amazing, happy thing you could ever think about. The most amazing thought you can ever have is God. And God wants us to be that satisfied with him. Like, we want to share in that joy. And it does sound like lofty and weird and mystical. I get it. But really, there's, the greatest longing of the human heart is, I think it's for God, and Christ is what bridges that. But it's that leap of faith that you have to take. Took, you know what I mean? Because there is a chance I'm wrong. I don't believe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But I have to know that there's a chance I'm wrong. But I strongly don't think so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you have to be okay with that, Luke, because there's not a lot of certainty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, life is not certain.
It's true.
So
that's the true part, though. I like that.
But I believe there's enough evidence to believe it, and I want to give my life for it. And I think everyone else needs to do it. And the Bible is such a beautiful story of redemption. I was literally reading this morning about...
Are you going to be a missionary? Going to places? It's like, get away from my island. It's like, no, don't shoot me. It's like, bro, R.I.P. Jake. He went to an island trying to convert these Amazonians, and he got fucked up.
I just want to be faithful. I want to be faithful to Christ.
That's good, man.
And I want to live normal life in light of all of this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
well, I think,
but I believe in heaven and hell, and I believe that eternity is real, and we're gonna go somewhere.
Well, I think that's pretty positive in a certain aspect, and like a moral judgment, like hold yourself accountable. There is a heaven and hell. I'm not trying to go to hell, so let's try to figure out how what can I do to be a good person? Like, and I hold myself accountable. Like, I believe very much in karma.
Yeah.
So like that, like I use God in the idea of karma. Like I just think if you're an asshole or if bad thing, like sometimes like I feel bad doing this, but sometimes like I read in the news and like something happens to someone and it sounds a terrible story, and sometimes I'm like, it could be. It's like you never know what that person did in life. Like sometimes I kind of feel.
I don't know
weird.
if I don't believe it.
Sometimes I feel weird like just doing that, but I don't know. I just kind of believe in karma. Like you do good things to people. You're a good, nice person. You're lovable. Like you don't want to hurt anybody. Like feelings. Like physically. Like some people go out to the bar trying to fight people. Like all these things just like add up, and it's like. Simply, like I don't know. I kind of believe in karma. Like if you're an asshole, I think it will come and get you, and God will come and judge you. So at some point, however you want to terminize that, God will come and judge you. And if you're good, again, God's coming to judge you. However you kind of want. I do kind of believe some of those type of like.
Now we don't believe in karma, okay, and that's like a Hindu concept.
I love the Hindus. Hindus and the Buddhists.
Because we believe, like we want to base our theology, like the way we view God, off of Scripture. And Scripture says that God is supremely good, supremely just, supremely holy, all the wonderful characteristics of God, supremely loving and showing grace. So like if I mess up, I don't believe if I break my leg, and say if I did something horrible, morally that the next day later I broke my leg. I'm not going to believe that because I believe that God. I'm not going to believe that me breaking my leg is based off of God's karma because God's character is consistent. It's completely loving, not like half loving, but completely holy, completely.
But there is
graceful.
a sense like realistic karma. Like, hey, like my friend Joe. Joe, I love you. Me and him are not the best snowboarders.
Yeah.
We should be taking it easy. He starts hitting these jumps. Dude, you shouldn't be doing it. We don't warm up. He doesn't really exercise, strengthen his legs and shit. Booms, falls, tears his ACL. I'm not blaming God, but that is karma, right? Like, you didn't have to, we're not that good at snowboarding. Yeah. You're not doing these fucking hardcore crazy exercises where your knees are bulletproof and shit. You're not doing that. So then you're locked into a snowboard and you do some jumps that you shouldn't be doing. We're not good enough, right? You got to challenge yourself to try to be better at snowboarding. You fall, you tear your ACL. Yeah. That's karma. Like, you got to know better at some point.
I see what you're saying, but like the knowledge, I'm like,
I also know like we're kind of like two totally different things.
Definitely, yeah.
Apples and oranges.
Like
that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, the knowledge, like what I'm appealing to. So like I would say, I don't believe in karma, but then I would give a reason for it, like scripture. Like scripture says this is the case. Where like karma, it's like no, I just assume based on my own intuition that this is karma. You know what I mean? So like Christianity is based off of something. You know what I mean? It's based off scripture. Where karma. It's not.
Karma could be anything.
Exactly. And we can't live a life like that. We need a certain amount of certainty in our life.
I understand.
Objective certainty.
That makes sense to me. That rationalizes with me.
Rationalizes. So yeah, and I think I mean I don't want to keep saying the same thing, but Christianity it's convincing, and I think the argument's there. It's a leap of faith, and I think it has the best answers out of any other religion in the world. And obviously I haven't studied every other religion, but I know enough about it to know that I've never encountered something so beautiful in my life. So why would I not want to, live to please God? You know what I mean? Why would I not want to give everything for Christ? Think of like the agony Christ went on. This is the way we think about it. God created the world and he made everything great and it fell into, we fell into sin and misery. God would be so loving to take on human flesh. So I can actually get through life and when I do have a problem, I can think, well, you know what? God knows what it's like to have problems because he was on the cross.
Yeah.
Bro, that's life-changing. If I think that, if I appeal to my God, that my God's experienced what I've experienced.
You could hold the same perspective, but not hold it to Jesus Christ. You could hold it to, what about the soldiers that are kidnapped and tortured or people that are kidnapped and tortured or women that are raped and abused or kids that get they feel the same amount of
how much more
in a perspective wise of like, hey, I should be grateful and I should be grateful because these same humans that God created and are living in the same atmosphere, not just Jesus, but Joe Schmo from down the block got kidnapped and raped. Well, I don't know what it is. And he got tortured too. So I got to be grateful because I know what happened to him and I know he suffered and I know he is suffering or whatever it is.
Well, that's a good mindset to have. But
that's kind of where I stay.
I see what you're saying. But how much more would it mean if it was God? Oh, God went through that. God took on the cross for my sin. And, there's a book in the Bible called the Letter of Hebrews. And it says that he became in every way like us, Christ. So God became man in the person of Christ. So like I can get through things. Yeah, like you can say, well, this guy went through it, I can do it. But what is that like to think about a God who is supremely good and he went through all that? So I actually can get through this because the Lord of the universe took on flesh and he went through it. It's just a game changer where you can say, these soldiers went through this or whatever, but it's a game changer at a different level. I know you're talking about God. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I understand it's lofty and people will get uncomfortable with spiritual conversation,
Yeah. No, it's good.
And that's fine. But
this is what the Keep It Real podcast need, these conversations.
This is it, bro.
Have you made a podcast recently or nah?
No,
taking a break on the EJ Cast?
We've taken an EJ Cast. We're going to change the name, I think.
Nah, dude, just keep it going. All right, baby. All right,
we were thinking about
podcast.
Curiositas. It's a Greek word for curiosity. Maybe.
Might be hard to sell.
I know. But we're getting real. I don't really have probably a good excuse, but we're getting busy. You got a baby coming.
Oh, I know, man.
Where it's like, I don't know. I love this because we need this in America.
Yes.
But I don't know if I have the giftings or even the desire to want to do it.
To provide that full-on style of content. I understand.
think it's valuable.
Yeah.
Like, I want you to keep doing this. I want you to be able to do this to your dad.
Thank you, buddy. I hope so.
But I don't know if this would be...
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd flourish in a role like you're flourishing in, if that makes sense.
Hopefully. I'm not flourishing. You could say, I'll accept I'm flourishing. Fuck it. I'm flourishing.
Was your character flourishing? Are you changing? Are you getting better?
No, I'm getting better, yeah. I just want the brain to
becoming a better man, you think? because of it.
Yeah.
So there's some gains, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
But
I just have to hold myself accountable and want to put more content out there, network, and make more podcasts.
What if you had? I don't know. You probably have goals. Do you have like once a month goals?
No, more with the podcast. No, that's where like the content. No, you're right. I have monthly goals and weekly goals with other things, finances, fitness, just regular type of like lifestyle type of things. But when it actually comes to breaking down content, no, I probably should get more on like the business. Once I get my LLC, I'm gonna get full on.
Is it gonna be called the Keepin It Real?
It's gonna be Keepin Real Productions.
Keepin Real Productions.
Keepin Real Productions. I'm gonna try to figure out something with the licensing and make sure I can try to market that, and we'll figure it out. Yeah. I'm excited. So.
Well, this has been a joy, man.
Dude, I'm happy you came back up.
I'm happy I was
New Jersey, baby. It's the liberal capital of America. Nah,
it's not. I don't think I'm gonna live here again, though. Honestly.
No,
I don't think I'm gonna do it.
So I'm thinking about. My friend lives in Tennessee.
Why don't you come visit? Why don't you come?
I'll come visit, bro.
Yeah.
I'll come visit.
I'll take you
Not
to
that
ATL.
far.
We'll go get some food.
ATL. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go to the studio and record some music and shit. No, that'd be lit, man. Yeah. I will definitely stay in touch because I'll be down there and I'm gonna be willing to travel. But
you should check it out anyway. I mean,
I should.
You're trying to be. You're not a journalist, but you're trying to be a media content.
Yes. So, in a way, I kind of want to do journalistic. I don't want to labeling. I'm against the labeling. Yeah. People love the labels. Like I'm a journalist. Like I want to do journalism. I don't want to be a journalist. Journalists get kidnapped and killed. You know what I'm saying? Putin's going to come after me. I'm not a journalist.
Yeah. But I really think you got something special.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm really happy for you.
Buddy. You know, I hope I'm figuring something out.
And I know you're trying to get somewhere and you got something going on.
Yeah.
And you're trying something, bro. Like I'm glad you're not, thinking, oh, well, should I still do this or whatever? But you keep going.
There's times where, question everything. Like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm making no money off this. Like, I'm going to post it. I'm not going to make any money off this. But
YouTube's going to make money off of you.
Exactly. In the long run, I will hopefully provide a lifestyle and something like that. So I got a plan. I think I might move down to Tennessee and travel and live out the car.
I would recommend. I think it's a good idea to get out of here, honestly.
Yeah.
Like my wife's telling me all the time, like, we will never live up here.
People too, just like
I've met so many people just by going to college and moving to Atlanta.
Of people all around the world and shit.
There's so many,
Yeah, a lot of these people are still going to be here. Not that that's a bad thing. If I want to say what's up, I'll say what's up. My parents will be here, so I'll always kind of have this home base.
And
then my parents have like a small little like trailer, kind of like a beach house in Cape May. So they might sell this and try to just move down there and do something.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. But we're gonna keep. My parents still gotta work for a few more years, so
that's cool.
I'll be here for a little bit, a couple more.
Take it day by day, right?
Exactly, man. Just be
Live
grateful.
Life one day at a time. Grateful attitude.
Yeah, I've been grateful lately, so I'm good.
Cool. Hopefully, I get that marathon done.
Yeah, bro. I'll hold you to it, bro.
Please.
I'll hold you to it.
I'm already nervous. No, I'm not nervous, but
we have a safe trip back. Hope your wife stays healthy with the baby.
Yeah, I'll keep you in the loop.
Yeah, dude, keep me in the loop, bro. I'll definitely stay in touch. But Jake, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Smash the like button, subscribe. Ciao, deuces.